Hi, this is Aquarian Anarchy. I'm Marcus Pulis, and you can see Chad and Nicco, and we're joined by another friend of ours, Hotep Jesus, or Brian Sharp. And I'm going to, before we get into this, please like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that crap. Go to the store, grab yourself a t-shirt, a banner, and all that kind of bullshit. Support us and support people like Hotep Jesus. And I'm going to let Chad start this out tonight because he's known Brian for some time, and I've just interacted with him a little bit, but I've been impressed with what I've seen so far. So, Chad, take it away.
Yeah. So also, I think you're gonna have a link to his website in the description and everything. So we'll have an opportunity for you to go and check out his stuff there if you're not already familiar. Two-time author, dominate Twitter and Unbreakable Rules of Masculinity. Also a three-time tech startup co-founder with Jiffitize, Coinbits app. Shout out to Coinbits app. These beautiful Bitcoin days. You gotta love it. If you were dollar cost averaging like we were, you'd be up big time right now.
I'm up right now anyway.
And then that's right. And then Wazo Security. Which I'm kind of excited about that one. But I want to kind of go through kind of how that tech part of it started with you, because we have something in common there, and I wanted to touch on that. Just kind of go back into those, I guess the 90s or maybe the early 2000s. You and I both worked at CompUSA. I did it like 98 to 99, I think. And you were, when did you work there?
I want to say 99 to 2000 or 90. Well, it was one of those years, you know. Let me see. So 98, I came out and I was working at Applebee's, and it's probably 99 to 2000, I want to say.
Okay. Yeah. So did y'all have in your store, did you have the little, you know how you sold TAP, the technology assurance plan or whatever?
You had to sell that.
Yeah, you had to sell it. Well, so did y'all have the little screensaver that had the different TAP plans that would go over the screen and everything? I
don't remember.
Damn, I was hoping that thing had made it, because I made that. I made a screensaver that had all the different, versions of it, like all the different, because they had like the ones for like laptops and like you had your gold, silver, and bronze, and then you had like your other stuff for like, a printer or some bullshit where you had to try to sell somebody $10, buy your thing in case your printer breaks. Then and then they wanted us to sell like a printer cable that came with the printer with a pack of paper. And it's like, here's a pack of paper with a printer cable. It's $40. Your printer's $100. And it comes with a cable. Do you want to buy this? It's like, damn, man, the grift game was hard for the
and you had to sell the TAP plan on the paper and cord too.
Right,
like just in case anything goes wrong with your paper.
Right, exactly.
You can bring that back.
Exactly.
And if you didn't sell it I'm gonna tell you a story, right?
Yeah.
We had the biggest asshole in the world as my manager. His name was Joe DeVizio. That's how you know he's an asshole, because I remember his name. And
Frank Caluta was my GM. So it's another Italian. So
we're doing the whole thing, and I'm an ethical person, so I ain't selling everybody on the TAP program. Like, if you buy some shit that don't need TAP, I'm like, yo, go ahead, bro, before they make me sell you TAP. You know what I mean? And I'm telling people, like, look, don't include this in the TAP, but definitely include this expensive.
Yeah, if you're buying a $2,500 computer or something like that, yeah, right.
Yeah,
exactly.
like, all right, fine, go ahead, get the TAP on that, don't get it on that. And Joe was like, how come all your stuff isn't? And I was an arrogant, 20-year-old something. So I got fired eventually because me and Joe DeVizio just didn't see eye to eye. In fact, I think it was more of like a fire and quit, where he threatened to fire me. He was like, if you don't get your act together, I'll fire you. If you fire me, it's not going to change my life any. Because you got to remember, I'm a rich kid. Like I was raised in a 6-figure household, and I'm arrogant as shit. Like, I'll leave here and go get another job. This was back in the day where the economy was great, where you could leave a job and get another job the same day. So I was like, bro, you're not going to threaten me and getting fired. Like, I'll leave right now.
Especially if you knew how to talk to people. If you know how to talk to people, you can get any job.
Yeah, like, it wasn't a problem. So I got fired, right? So I decided, one Saturday I had nothing else better to do. So I show up at Comp USA, and I still remember the code to the loudspeaker. So I walked up. I walk in with my hoodie on, and I sneak in the place, and incognito. And I pick up the phone, and I punch in the number, and I'm like, Joe DeVizio's the biggest asshole in Comp USA. Then I slam the phone down, and I smooth walked out of there. My homeboy still had a job there. He was a cashier. So as I'm walking out real smooth, like, I look up at him, and then he looks. He's like, get out of here, right? So I start laughing,
that's awesome.
and I slide out the door. They ended up having to stay late that day because somebody
figure out
who did it.
Right.
And they were, eventually somebody ratted me out. They were like, yo, it's a former employee. It was none of us. But yeah, CompUSA was one of the most trash jobs I ever had.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I was working there. I was making I think I was making $8.50 an hour as the marketer. I would put out the ad and everything, and I made signs and all that kind of stuff and did all that kind of shit. And I got promoted to front end manager. So when I was the marketer, I was part-time. They never worked me more than 30 hours a week, so that I wouldn't get any health benefits or anything like that.
Right. They want you to be considered a full-time employee.
Right. No, right. So then as soon as I get that job.
So at 29.5 hours, they'd say, go clock out.
Go clock out. Right. Exactly. So then I get this front-end manager job where I'm managing all the cashiers and everything. And I think I jumped up to $26K a year or something like that. And I was like, all right, this is okay money, but it's not woohoo, I get, I'm buying a house tomorrow. So I get that. I think I worked 65 hours a week after that. I did the math on it. I was like, I think I'm making $3 an hour now. They just wore my ass out. And there was one day where I came in at I think I came in at 11, and at 4 o'clock, they're like, hey man, why don't you go home and take a shower or something like that, take a nap, come back at 7. I'm like, it's 4. You think I can go take a shower and take a nap and then be back here by 7?
Right.
Do I get to eat somewhere in there? They're like, yeah, because you're going to be working overnight. I was like, oh, fuck. Okay. So they're like, it's okay, though. You're going to come in at 7. You'll leave at 7 tomorrow. The GM's coming in. We're redoing the whole store. So I leave, and I go do my thing. I come back at 7, work the whole night. It's 7:30. I'm like, dude, can I go? They're like, hang on just a minute. We need you to do this. I need you to do this. Next thing I know, it's 9 o'clock. The GM's walking through the door. They're like, hey, man, can you just stay until he leaves? Fucker didn't leave until 5 or something like that. So at that point, I'm worn out. It's a different GM. This GM was actually pretty cool. George Garza. He was actually a pretty cool dude. He had visions for me. He was going to move me up the ladder and all this kind of stuff. But I ended up working for my dad after that. I said to hell with this shit. Because I got ops manager after that. I was working 80 hours a week for $30K. And it was even less worth it. But so we go to the Lone Star Steakhouse in the same parking lot as the CompUSA. And he's like, hey man, you want a Long Island iced tea? I haven't eaten in probably, I don't know, 30 hours or something like that. And so I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. I think we drank 3 of those things. I was just about unconscious by the time the thing was over with because I was dead asleep. I needed to, anyway. It was a very very shitty place to work. There were a few people that were pretty cool.
That reminds me, my first job. My very first job was Burger King, and my father, he raised me like he was King Jaffe Joe. My son will never work, that type of thing. He wanted me to have a nice, he wanted me to just, go through high school and do that. But it's turned 16. I was like, nah, fuck that. I want a job with my own money. People have jobs. They have their money. I want my own money. So I go get this job at Burger King. I go show up at my shift. My shift ends at noon or something like that. And the boss is like, hey, can you stay until 2? And I'm like, cool, fuck it. I'll stay till noon. 2 comes around. He's like, hey, I need you to stay till 3. And I'm like, all right, no doubt. 3 comes around. He's like, hey, I need you to stay till 5. I said, yo, I can't do that. You told me 2. I stayed till 2. Was 3 now. I stayed till 3. He was like, well, if you don't stay, I'll fire you. And I looked at him took my shirt off, and I chucked it right in his face, and I walked the fuck out of that job. Yeah. And then he called me back the next day. It was like, hey, can you come in to work today? I was like, no, I quit. But then, the moral of the story is these bosses think they want to treat you like a slave, right? These really bad jobs. So you have to think about it. If you're not the type of person that had attitude like me, then you got your ass worked to death. I was never. I refuse. I refuse.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
you have to quit.
Yeah, I think that's part of like if you I think study that free thinking mind that all of us have and that people like us have. We're not putting up with any bullshit like that. Sure, I might stay if I need the fucking money, and if I don't, go fuck yourself. I'm going home. I'm not playing your shit.
But at least be respectful, right? Like, don't say stay till 2 when it comes around, and if I say no, then you try to threaten me with being fired. Right? Like, that's not cool at all, because you see what he thought was I was some poor black kid who needed the job.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm a rich black kid who wanted the job.
Right.
And he thought he could extort time from me.
Mm-hmm.
No, bitch, I'm not poor.
Right.
I got some money.
When a manager,
it's always something that they try to fucking grab onto. When in judgment, even if it's just you're young and you're gonna do what I tell you to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when we have that kind of mentality, like you obviously had, they don't know what the fuck to do with that.
Right.
The smart ones want to like promote it and turn it into something really, really big, because there's potential there. But most of them aren't that smart.
No. That's why they have a job at
right. That's the manager at Burger King.
Exactly.
What were you gonna say, Nicco?
Oh no, I was just going to expand upon the thought of once you become a manager. Matter of fact, I'll take this back to when I worked at good old Love and the Blue. It was a all black owned restaurant that was ran by all women, and it was a great place to be in, to learn, but it was a headache. Oh boy, it was a headache. They had me practically do everything. And there was a manager who just tried running over absolutely everybody. She was the head cook. She was on the stove because it's a small little spot. So, Sundays it's brunch food. You get some mimosas, some flavored French toast and all that. And once everything gets all hectic, she would just become this demon that would just trample over everybody. Right. And granted, she liked me, and I was pretty much doing everything. I was from the prep cook to the line cook at one point to somebody who, I thank God I didn't have my Bassett's because they probably had me as a bartender. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it was just bad. It was terrible. It was a headache.
Yeah, see, for me, I had a little bit of a different way that I got taken advantage of. I've always kind of been a stocky guy, so they always threw me, like, if I'm working at a factory or some shit, I'm the guy that's fucking carrying everything. I'm picking shit up. I'm like, listen, motherfuckers, it's not like I'm a weightlifter. I'm fucking fat. Leave me the fuck alone. Let me do my shit. So I got that kind of fucking shit.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So, and I kind of had a almost the reverse situation as you did, Brian. For me, I was poor as shit. I mean, I didn't have nothing. And it took, like, kind of like Chad was talking about, people seeing the potential that I could do other shit, and that I was smart and hardworking and all that kind of stuff. And because of that, then it started, people started recognizing, and I climbed my own way based on that. So similar, but kind of from the other side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that it's more important what we do with it. And, what I've seen, Chad turned me onto your channel and paying attention to you a couple of years ago. And, I was working for Adam and I was busting my ass. Probably, you're talking about making $3 an hour. For Adam, I was making like 10 cents an hour or some shit. I got paid, but barely. I was working my fucking ass off.
Volunteer work's a bitch, man.
I know, it sucks.
I paid more than I ever got paid. That's for sure.
For sure. But and nothing against Adam. It is what it is. Politics is what politics is. But but fuck, I lost my train of thought. But so I think
you said you got paid 10 cents an hour.
If that, dude. I worked my damn ass off for Adam, and we became friends. And don't get me wrong, I got paid a hell of a lot more for in other ways, than money. But it was a hard ass job, and you have to have the kind of mentality that we have to make it in this world. And I think that's what a lot of these people don't get, and why socialism, for instance, doesn't work, is because everything that you get in life, you have to work for. And I saw that in you when Chad introduced me to what you were doing. I was like, dude, because there were some differences, like philosophically, I saw right out of the gate, the support of Trump, that kind of shit, which I kind of respected the way you handled that in not voting for him. But, because listen to Adam a couple weeks ago with Roger Stone, and, to a degree, I understand Roger Stone's support of Trump in that he's like, okay, fuck the Libertarian Party. They're being dumbasses. And fucking, at least Trump's not fucking Biden. And I can kind of get that in all of that. But what kind of attracted you to the political game, like, and got you interested in looking into these things?
Not a goddamn thing. I never was interested in the politics, what, I got pulled into this shit, Uncle Hotep was a big supporter of mine for a really long time. And then, he was saying this thing, black conservative, right? Black conservative. So I had no idea what this thing was, Here I am 30 plus years old and never heard of a conservative or a liberal, right? I've never wanted to get into politics or even understand it. I thought it was all stupid. I still think it's stupid. But I had a platform, and my platform has always spoken on, I would say, culture, and the culture of the black community more specifically. So things I would say, well, first of all, Trump was going to be our president. That was national news. Like, there was no way you were online talking culture and not discussing Trump. Right. So when Trump first came up, I'm like, yo, I'm fucking with this dude. I'm not fucking with Hillary. It wasn't like I was talking about Trump because I wanted to be in politics, Twitter. I was trying to figure out why more people didn't like Trump. I'm like, yo, what is wrong with y'all? I'm like, y'all Hillary? Like, hello? Like, robbed Haiti? Come on, people. Like, I was trying to figure out what's going on. And I saw the media manipulation. And I was like, oh, no, I got to do something about this. I have to let people know. I have to let my people know. Like, no, we're voting Trump. We're voting Trump.
How'd that work out for you? Letting your people know.
That's exactly what I was about to get into. It's like I was saying it and people were hitting me with the backlash. And I'm like, wait, wait, hold on. Wait, how did y'all become Trump haters? Like, Trump was just cool with the black community through the hip hop rappers and all of that. Like, what? I don't get this, right? And then
everybody wanted to take pictures with him and everything.
Yeah. And then the whole Black Lives Matter were taking sides. And I just started sitting back and watching how this whole thing was working. And then that's when I was like, well, let me learn now, right? So then I got sucked into the TPUSA Black Coon Summit, and and I went over there and I said, you know what, maybe I can help, right? Maybe I can help. And then I went over there and I quickly realized, I'm like, oh, this is just a mechanism to get more black people to vote for Republicans. So I was like, all right, fine. That's actually a good thing, right? Because we don't want our vote to be monolithic. So I'm like, all right, I'm actually on board with this. Not for the same reason you guys are, but I'm on board with this and I can help you. And I told Charlie Cook, I said, listen, if you want to get through the black community, you have to do it through the Hoteps. Now, Candace and him obviously thought I was saying that because, I was being narcissistic about it. And I was like, no, because the way any other black conservatives is going to approach this is going to be the wrong way. You have to handle this situation with care. And the black people you have in this room do not understand black people well enough to communicate with them effectively. So pass that baton over here and I'm going to show you how to do this thing. Obviously, that wasn't going to happen, right? They wanted to do things by the book their way. Fine. So that happened. The whole TPUSA saga got kicked out and all of that. So now I was like, all right, well, I'm about to expose all y'all motherfuckers then since y'all won't let me help then. You know what I mean? So that's when I started exposing the right and the left at the same time. Before I was more like trying to understand the right. So I didn't criticize the right at all for a while. I was just like, it was kind of like you have a fish tank, right? And you're like, what happens if I throw this type of food in the fish tank? And you watch them, and it's like, okay, that's how they react. All right, what about this? And it was like, ooh, that's an interesting reaction. I was like, well, do you like brine shrimp? And it's like, ooh, they really like that bait, you know? So I was trying to understand what made these people tick. Then I was like, all right, now I understand what makes them tick. What makes them get pissed off? So I was like, let's try this. I like Obama. I'm like, oh, there we go. Boom, right? So I was like, it's like, wait, I think reparations would get them. I like reparations. Boom, explosion. I'm like, okay, all right. You guys don't like black shit. All right, so you're not allowed to be black and conservative. This whole black conservative thing is a whole nother story. So I'm like learning. And I'm like, okay, Kwanzaa's coming around. Let's try Kwanzaa. Now, I don't even celebrate Kwanzaa. I specifically celebrate Kwanzaa on Twitter to piss people off. I'll be honest with you. There's no fucking candles in my house during Kwanzaa. We celebrate Christmas in my house. So I go online, first day of Kwanzaa. I say, yo, happy Kwanzaa. Boom, explodes. I'm like, yo, how would you let my holiday bother you?
Right.
So it's like understanding like the snowflakeism from the left and the snowflakeism of the right. And then it's like, okay, now how do we coalesce this into something that can be positive? And that's like the evolution of Hotep Jesus, and like now using all these things in a more effective manner by understanding. Cool. So then after that, I'm like, okay, so then we understand reparations is a trigger word. How do I make Republicans like reparations? It seems like Mission Impossible. So I think, and I'm like, Dems must pay. Because all they did was said, Democrats messed up the black community. So with that line of thought, they owe us reparations, right? Right. Good.
It shows you how like one-dimensional thinkers they are, that nobody came up with anything even close to that, not even in the same universe. It was like that was in a book that they had never even heard existed, let alone opened up to read the first page of it. And all you had to do and they're like, oh, goddamn, that's a good point. Like, how long did it take for you let CJ Pearson just like dangle and dangle and dangle for like an hour, and then you finally hit him with that, and at the end of it, he's like, I agree that that the Dems must pay. That's a good. It's like, yeah, well, if you'd have just shut the hell up, I could have told you this from the beginning, but instead you wanted to go and like get retweets from white people, and bingo, you did. So what was interesting what you were saying about Charlie and like how that whole thing went. And I understand there are some people who have like really good, well-intentioned motives and everything, but there are people who are using that to, in my opinion, not necessarily even convert the black community to conservatism or voting Republican. It's almost like it's more getting people to be okay with, it's their I have black friends. It's their I have black friends.
They want new
point.
slaves.
Yeah.
They want new slaves, Chad. They don't want free thinking black people.
Right.
They want new slaves. That's what when TPUSA brought people over there, they didn't want a free black nation. They didn't want a black community that was self-sustainable. They want to do the same thing the Democrats do.
Mm-hmm.
They want to dangle the carrot in front of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just for the vote. And after they get the vote, it's like, all right, we don't need you anymore. They wanted new slaves. If TPUSA would have gave Uncle Hotep and Hotep Jesus the same budget they gave the black conservatives, do you know how different this country would be?
The numbers out the water, man.
Do you know how understand how different this country would be?
Right. No, absolutely.
Like the whole country would be different. There'd
the energy
actually
would be completely different.
It would be completely different.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to, look at these black people, they don't know nothing, they keep voting for Democrats. Well, we could have went in and been really super effective. The problem is that both of these sides work for the same establishment.
Absolutely.
And the establishment doesn't want a free thinking people.
And that's what I was going to say. Like, if you look at what they do to white people, like, it shouldn't have been much of a surprise. They're like, They've been stringing conservatives along for 40-something years on the abortion issue and never doing a damn thing about it. and here they are. They keep pouring their money into that. And I keep telling people, I'm like, look, forget about the law. Like, if you really want to help people, like, start up, spend that money that you're sending to the GOP, spend that money on a care pregnancy center, a crisis pregnancy center across the street from Planned Parenthood, where you can actually get some of those women who are scared out of their minds about what's going to happen and put them in a position to where they don't have to kill the baby, and the baby can find a home somewhere that it needs to be, and everything will be okay. But instead, they just want your money, and they just want the clout, and they want the ad space that they're going to get from the same sponsors that sponsor the Democrat candidates. And that's all it is. It's a big,
I mean, think
turn
about
it up, spit it out.
I think we have to
cycle.
understand that white conservatives are really hypocrites, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Candace Owens had her Blexit event, do you understand that she had to pay people to show up? She had to buy tickets for people. And this is one of the most, I'm going to say, the most powerful conservative, if not black conservative at that time. Millions of followers. And she couldn't pack out a few hundred people. Look at the event Maj is putting on right now. Why hasn't that sold out yet? They've pulled out every single all-star in black conservative Twitter.
Yeah.
Insane lineup between Fox. Why haven't they sold out yet? And I told Maj,
I don't watch Fox. Has it been promoted on Fox or anything like that?
Of course not. White conservatives don't give a fuck. They don't
why
want
would
to go see.
Why would they want to promote Sonny Johnson?
Why would you want to go? White conservatives don't want to see black people. They want to see black people toe the line and say the things that they can't say. After that's done, they want nothing to do with black people.
Well,
that's the thing.
Exactly.
It's the saying things that they can't say thing. That's the biggest part of it.
It's the same thing that people say about gay people. They say, I don't care if somebody's gay as long as they act straight in public. It's the same fucking thing. They're saying, I don't care if you're black as long as you act white in public. You know, that's what they give a fuck about. And I got to throw in there because yes, the Republicans and Democrats both suck. But it ain't any better in the Libertarian Party. And I'm telling you from experience, these motherfuckers are exactly the same. Now, you might say these are COINTELPRO coming in and playing games and doing whatever. But I still have seen it happen beyond Maj, beyond what they do to Eric July. I've watched it. I've watched it happen. You know, we here in Indiana, we had a black gentleman that came in, was going to be a delegate. And when he was going to be a delegate, they were sucking all on his nutsack, had it fully in their mouth. But the moment he started to vote differently than what they wanted to, they didn't want to have a fucking thing to do with him, and they left.
Who?
I don't remember his name. It was because I was new and Indiana was new to me, but I remembered seeing it and thinking, oh my God. He started hanging out with a friend of ours, Josh Smith, who ran for the chair of the LP. Mm-hmm. He started hanging around with Josh and the Mises people, and the people in Indiana. You got to understand, this state sucks. The LP in this state is one of the worst in the whole fucking country. They are sold out fucking Republicans with a bong who gave the bong up last week. They suck. But there is just like in the rest of the Libertarian Party, there's a coming up of anarchists and people that free thinkers, people that really study economics, those kinds of people. And he was one of those. And Josh is an economics guy, so he was coming up under Josh. And as soon as they saw that, they didn't want to.
Well, because the worst thing that they have is they call the Mises people and people like Josh, they call them racist, Nazi, white supremacists or whatever, white nationalists and all this kind of stuff. And so if you dare have somebody like Eric July or Maj or the guy you're talking about supporting then it's like their whole argument gets kind of ripped out from under them. So all of a sudden you're not just like what you're talking about with the GOP. As long as you're attacking it's like they want a lady in the GOP, but they want a freak with the Dems. You know, it's that old, you know, you got to be nice and polite and everything when you're speaking to our donors. But then, because that same thing happened to Maj. Maj got in trouble for saying something to a potential donor who called him to tell him, I'm not going to give you any money. And he's like, you could have just not given me money. You don't have to call me up and tell me you're not giving me money. Get the fuck out of here, man.
Said that, like, even though you have a greater intention for, like, even the bigger picture, people, if you say anything against them, and the slightest, they have their panties in a bunch and walk away. It's like a very emotional time, and people don't think logically or don't think outside of themselves. They just think for their own personal gain. So therefore, once you have, for example, for you, Hotep, you said that you had, and it's not like in a narcissistic or evil or messed up way, but you had a different viewpoint on where you could take this political party, but everybody's so worried about their monetary and materialistic gain, they don't think of the bigger picture, which is the people. The people fund everything that is necessary. And nah, I don't like what you say, Hotep. So matter of fact, it's hilarious. So my cousin had a party, and this was way back. And so then it's like, she said, oh yeah, come bring your friends. This was before COVID. And she said, no people who like Trump, and then no Hoteps. And I was like, shit, I'm kind of Hotep out here. Like, and it's because—
She said, wait, what? You couldn't go where?
I couldn't go to her little party that she was having.
In real life?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. In real life. And she said no Hoteps.
In real life, no Hoteps?
Yeah, and I'm like,
wait,
do you guys understand what it means? Did you guys even take your chance to go to the original source? But people don't do that.
No.
People don't go to the source because, you think we so stuck in history right now. History is repeating itself very viciously because nobody's taking the time to go look up their history.
They're gonna be made a fool of. It's gonna take me a little time, but they're gonna be made, like, people who ignore the Hoteps and like land bastards, they're gonna be made fools of. What do you think these people are gonna do when I'm a billionaire? What do you think? These people are gonna be lining up at my doorstep asking for a Hotep Nation hat.
For sure.
No, I know.
Oh, they're gonna be lined up around the corner like, Hotep Jesus, help us.
And you'll be KYCing them to not get one. Know your customer.
You fucking right. You fucking right. You start in the gulags and work your way up.
Right.
You wasn't with us shooting in the gym. Now you got to prove yourself in the gulags.
Right.
For sure.
You got a fucking white guy from New Orleans repping a set that's about the betterment of your people. So you fucking right. And I'm gonna put Chad over you to watch you in the gulag to laugh at your ass. He's going. Okay. I'm gonna put a white Rouge, man.
Though, so like
Baton Rouge. Yeah. I'm gonna set a white man to be your overseer when you do sign up.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'm going, because this is terrible. This is terrible, and you have to reward people. You have to reward people who were there from the beginning. You have to reward people. This is not about get back later. This is more about rewarding the people that have been there from the beginning. They should have all the perks. They should have all the privileges. And anybody who wasn't there from the beginning, who decide to hop on the bandwagon, is going to have to work their way up. It's going to be harder then. It's going to be way harder to work your way up the ranks then. You're not even going to get noticed because there's going to be millions of people.
I think it was Mark Twain that said something along the lines of, everybody's a patriot when it's popular to be a patriot. It's those people that are in the fucking trenches with you. I mean, that's why when Chad said, hey, you got to check this Hotep dude out, I was like, right on, because me and Chad been through some bullshit together, and we fucking dug in, we did our shit. So what did I do? I went out and I checked you out. I saw what you were about, because that's what you do. That's how you build a movement. That's how you build yourself.
It's how you grow too. Like, you've got to go outside of your, and that's one of the things. What I was going to say is, it's interesting that we kind of veered into this topic, because I actually had one of the things I wanted to ask you was, so like, Talib Kweli, RIP to the Twitter account of the favorite Twitter follow of Nick Sarwark, because he used Talib Kweli to try to go after Eric July and Maj, but that kind of backfired on him because Talib ended up calling him a racist anyway. But no, so he went at you and Eric and Maj, and I guess a few other people too, calling you guys black white supremacists and all this other kind of bullshit. So I have a question for you. How does a black white supremacist develop a cult of white black supremacists? Because that's what we ended up with.
That's exactly what it is. Like, more people contribute to Hotep, more white people contribute to Hotep Nation than black people. And it says clear as day on the website. Well, when it comes back up, it says clear as day on the website for the Black community. And more white people are stepping up. You know why? Because these white people understand that in order for us to make the world better, you need Hotep Nation. Because Hotep Nation isn't trying to create a group of radical Black people that hate white people. No, we're just trying to bring citizens that can contribute to the American dream. This is the only thing this is about. And Black people are the underdog. If white people underdog, I'd be rooting for the underdog. I'd be Chad. I'd be rooting for white people. Like, nah, fuck that. We gotta help white people out. If white people are underdog, right? Like I'm just that type of person who always roots for the underdog. Cause I feel like, I feel like nobody should have anybody's underneath anybody's foot. You know what I mean? And it's just funny because then people will say, oh my God, like one girl the other day, she's like, you got white Hoteps? And they didn't even respond to her. I'm like, yo, you not even Hotepped up, yo. How you gonna complain about white people being Hotep?
I responded to her.
Did you? You
Yeah,
shouldn't even responded. Like you mad white people are Hotep, but you not Hotep.
Well,
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
What it is, again, all of this, something you said a little while ago, Brian, on Twitter, I really liked. You were talking about programming, and people are just following the programming, and that's just it. That's what people do. They follow what they're fucking supposed to do. Well, if you're strong and Black, well, then you can't be liking white people because that's not what we do. Right. So, and I think that's the core of that free mind. And each individual looks at the world and decides whether he's going to be just like everybody else or if he's going to be his own person. And I own myself. I'm going to be who I am. I'm going to stand for what I fucking believe in. And if you don't like it, suck it. I don't care. This is who I am. This is who I'm going to be. And that has led me to have a happy life, be relatively successful. And I think that people who say, fuck the system, are the ones who win. And now a lot of times they get in and become the system.
Right.
But success comes from thinking for yourself.
Yeah, I love the story of Julius Caesar, the first emperor of Rome, and he starts out with a position of privilege till his parents lose power. And then he's got to fall back into the army as just a regular army man. How does one man go from the top to the bottom, back to the extreme top, all in one lifetime? So when I look at people today, I'm like, yo, if you can't go from the bottom to the top, there's something wrong with you, because Caesar went from the top to the bottom and then back up again.
Right.
And not only that, set a precedent. He set a precedent. He was the first emperor. Prior to they had a Senate. Yeah. He was the first emperor. He said, man, fuck this Senate shit. We're going to do things how I say we're going to do things. Right? So, regardless of what people want to say about Caesar, I always admired that part of his history, that part of his story. And I pride myself in that. Like, we are in America, and America is a citadel or a kingdom. And as Black people, we would admit that we are behind enemy lines. Well, if you're behind enemy lines, the first thing you don't want to do is posture yourself as a POW. You would want to posture yourself as an agent of the state in cooperation with the state, because the state has all the power. The state, to go against what Mises would teach, is inevitable, as people would say. The state is inevitable. That's what people would say. So in order to topple the state, you would first have to rise within the state. If you can't understand how to rise within something as simple as the state, which is so simple to rise in because it's run by fools, and everybody between you and the top is a goddamn fool. And I've run circles around all your favorite intellectuals. I've run circles around. I've even come down a level and played with them and let them and not even been at my best and still won, but made them look like a fool by frustrating them. Your best can't compete with this one individual. So when I look at this thing that they call America, I see, oh, this is a simple game to be played. We rise and we shift the culture. We rise and we shift the culture. How do you do this without working with white people? How? You can't do it. Right. You can't do it. Look at Marcus Garvey. When Marcus Garvey tried to do it with just Black people, who rose against him? Black people, NAACP, EEB Du Bois, and the rest of those damn coons. They all worked against him. Matter of fact, they had a black man infiltrated that was part of the goddamn FBI. Infiltrated the UNIA. So how you gonna say we can't work with white people when at least when you work with white people, at least they look like an agent on the outside, right? So you can kind of be like, all right, we got to be aware. We got to be aware.
Yeah, you're
right.
The antivirus software is like on high alert all the time.
Right, it's on high alert all the time. Whereas you let all the black people in, it's just like, well, which one of these niggas is agent? Because one of these niggas is definitely agents.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like one of these niggas is definitely agents.
We're easily confused. We're easily confused as a culture because we have everything else in place in front of us saying, you want to be this, you want to be that. And we're creating and cultivating a culture all skewed off of a white person's perception of how we're supposed to. And so it's funny, I mentioned this to my cousin, and he was kind of drunk. He spazzed on me. He lived in Georgia, he lived in other places, but I was sitting down, and this was a long night of drinking. I was like, you know what? You live as a black man, but as a white man's culture. And it's evident because I don't remember what show, it was back in the 90s. And it was just like a whole bunch of a cast of white characters, but then there's a few black. He was like, there's a few black. But I'm like, but who's the main protagonist and antagonist of the show? It's all white people. And I can say that, yeah, black people have constructed something as what we can call our own, but when we were to look in Africa and the roots of it, they look at us like, what you doing over there? And so they have a name for us, but it's not like they're mad because we show a reflection of something that they don't want to be represented as. And we've been just playing the fool for such a long time.
Yeah. I mean, like I talked about when we did our episode on voodoo. I mean, they saw in spiritual terms, and just so you know, Brian, I practice voodoo. I know I'm white as shit, but it is what it is. Okay. I'm a freak. But
show him your shirt. Show him your shirt.
Yeah, this is G'day. He's the voodoo spirit of death, dance, and sex. He's my buddy. I love him. But so when people say, "Hey, I got a friend that's black," my gods are black. Fuck y'all. But but anyhow, they demonize the kind of magic, the kind of spirituality that black people did. That's why people don't realize that a lot of times when they talk about black magic, they're not talking about black as in bad. They're talking about black magic, the magic of black people. I want to add one thing to what you were saying, because I doubt you've heard this story, but I think it's really important to what you're talking about, Brian, coming into the you need to work from the inside. Everybody here knows about Freemasonry. We know most people have studied at least some degree of the Masonic history and what have you. What most people don't know was there was I think this was in the 1700s, there was a couple because Masonry is either Jewish or Christian-ish, right? Well, there were two kinds of Masonry that were not. They were based on Egyptian stuff. They were called Memphis and Mizraim. And they included a bunch of black people. They included a lot of like people from different cultures, but they were building and they were getting bigger and they were getting bigger and they were getting bigger. Well, Masonry saw what the fuck was going on. And instead, and we're talking about the first Freemasons, the ones when it organized really. So they came out and they didn't attack them. They didn't say, "Oh, this is the wrong way to do Masonry," because they based it on Egyptian theology. And they didn't attack them because of that or anything like that. No, they joined and they encouraged people to join. And it was ran by 3 people at the top. So over the next few years, it took about 50 years, they got the regular Freemasonry got the 2 of the 3 heads of the organization of Memphis and Mizraim got taken over by Masons, and they shut it the fuck down that day. They're done. Because they're in charge. So that what you're talking about is absolutely true. It is much easier to infiltrate, but it's hard. Now, I couldn't do it. I'm an anarchist like a motherfucker. I come out and I talk my shit and do what I'm going to do. That's why I'm never going to be in front of anybody. But, what you're talking about is exactly what needs to happen, but it has to be honest. And I think that's one of the things you bring to the table.
Yeah. I was born a Libra, so I bring balance. You know, everything I do in balance. And if I can't create balance out of it, I won't do it. But I'm always going to bring honesty and integrity to anything I do. I think it's the most important thing. And I think it's about selflessness too. It's beyond us, right? It's we're not going to be here forever. Well, what kind of world do we leave behind us? You know, what's the stamp we leave on the world? And I plan to shake shit up before I leave, you know, and make sure that people who people who come into this world and the next time after me, they say, you know what, that guy fucking helped us out, man. That guy fucking helped us out. And that's all I'm here for.
For sure. And one of the things that my whole, like, I'm an intellectual, and I realize that. I do a bit of writing, I do a bit of thinking, I do a lot of reading, those kinds of things. But everything I do is from the heart. I care. I want, you know, Adam shared a thing that I put out 3 years ago the other day that talked about that everything has to be love. You have to base every single thing that you do in a caring and in a basis of love. Because if you don't do that shit, then they're going to catch you fucking up. You know, your brain can be twisted, but your heart knows what's right and your heart knows what's wrong.
Mm. So what? Oh, were you done? I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say the same thing you are, Chad. Go ahead.
Well, no. Well, I mean, I was actually kind of back into what he was saying about this idea of, you know, how can you do this without white people? And so I take it kind of from the opposite side for me. So I see it like, how the fuck are we going to either defeat the state or transform the state into something that stops fucking everybody over without black people? You know, like how are you, like, you can't, and I don't mean that in the sense that the GOP or the Democrats mean it.
Right.
I mean that from the standpoint of, if you can't like connect on a visceral, on an empathetic level with the people who have been fucked over the most by the state by far, and find a way to connect with that and to bring a sort of healing, but also bring a level of solutions, and ask for what would you perceive as a remedy to this? Like, what would you see as this being fixed and this being taken care of? How are you possibly going to be able to fix it for yourself when you're like not even in the same universe of fuckery as these people have been? And the other thing is, like, so I look at it, I pulled this up. It just kind of hit me this morning, and it's so crazy because this was August 20th, 2 years ago. You tweeted this. You said, "A white man bought my book. I gave him a free phone consultation. We spoke for about an hour. It's not that I'm not helping black people. They just aren't using me as a resource."
Mm.
And I saw that when I saw that back then. And then it's weird because it kind of came full circle when
real quick. That's
Joe Hart.
That's Coach Joe Hart.
I was about to say,
and he's over $300,000 in 18 months or 19, 20 months right now. He's at over 300,000. As a matter of fact, he texted me the other day. He said, "Yo, I did $10,000 the other day." This is what Coach Joe texted me.
In a day.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's nuts.
He did 10K in a day. It's right here. This is our conversation.
Fun.
Damn.
God, I'd love to make 10K in a day.
Wow. And then,
yeah, no shit, right?
This is the screenshot.
God, dog, man. Oh, that's
real
lit.
talk. So people, you know, people say, "Oh, they want to talk shit about me." I'm like, "Yo, I'm a phone call away. Just reach out." I've never turned anybody away, and it's just funny that only I over 100,000 followers, and I can count on one hand how many people reached out to me and asked me for help.
Yeah, well, and so the way it's weird. Like I sent that tweet out last January or whenever it was about, y'all need to chop this show up into clips so we can share it with people. So I can send, so you can send somebody 5 minutes or 2 minutes or 45 seconds or whatever. And you're like, it's a great idea. Who's going to do it? And I was like, I'll do it. But can I talk to you? Can we talk? And you kind of help me with some of the stuff that I just wanted to do a trade, like a barter with you. And I thought it was interesting because this tweet, which was roughly 2 years ago, and the fact that it was Joe that you were talking about is crazy. Because this isn't just some guy who you talked to and then he went nowhere and just disappeared. Like that, it shows that was an impactful conversation. But also, about a year later, you do the Rogan interview, and I had never heard this story before, but you tell the story about you and 50 Cent and how you're like, I got on the bus and I was like, hey, I'm on the bus with 50 Cent. And I was like, that's how I felt about my relationship with you was I felt like, I was like, look, if all I have to do is be the hype man for these guys, and that's my part to try to help build this thing and make it something that because I sensed from the very early stages that this was something that could transform society. Like what you talked about, that if you were given the platform that Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens and Brandon Tatum and all those yahoos were given, that it would literally it would transform America for sure. Mm-hmm. And I think it would transform the world because we instantly stop bombing the shit out of all kinds of people and fucking up their economies and everything else. And it would really how we function as a global society in our own individual levels, and in our individual communities, but recognizing that we can help other people, but we don't have to do that other shit that they call help, foreign aid, that actually is destructive, and it's just destruction under another name. And so to me it was kind of, I was like, man, this is great. This is all you have to do is you have to
the
recognize
culture,
something that you see that can do something positive and then contribute to it.
It just shows you how fucked up in a state black people are. Look at you right now. You got the hat, you got the background. I didn't buy this background. You gave me this background, right?
And Marcus designed it, yeah. Or Marcus made it.
And another white man had it made.
Right.
Come the fuck on, Chad. White people are building this shit. And I got hip. I realized, I was like, yo, hating on white people is actually really fucking ignorant. I'm like, because I'm looking at black people and I'm like, this shit ain't gonna get built with black people. I knew Hotep Nation would not get built with black people. And tomorrow we have a meeting for our award show. And who's gonna be there? It's gonna be me and Uncle Hotep and 2 white guys. You volunteered, and the other video editor reached out to me, said he watched the show. He had some ideas, and he's gonna bring a whole bunch of assets to video editing. I was like, well, I gotta have my guy Chad in there. So it's white people that are like my right hand and my right arm and left arm. Well, I would say Uncle Hotep's my right arm. White people's my left arm. Like they right there. Like how isn't every black person I know? Think about all the black people I'm connected to in my personal life. How many of them is flagged up, Chad? I have one friend that buys everything I do. He owns Hotep Nation shit. The rest of them haven't supported shit, and I'm not asking them to. I just want people to see that you cannot ignore white people, because white people will be willing to help too, and they help a lot. They go the extra mile. Whereas black people, we don't do shit for each other. We don't do shit for each other. When they was attacking Maj at Black Lives Matter, I made sure I was right there. Just something about years ago when they was coming at his neck, I was right there to defend him. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm here for all my people, man, white or black. But if I see somebody struggling, like yo, we gotta help them out. Like when I saw Cannon Hinton got killed, like I don't like to see no little white boy get shot like that. Like no little kid should be shot like that. That's fucked up. So when I said some shots, all I said was rest in power. And I had some black people coming in like, oh, you dancing in Coonan. I'm dancing in Coonan because I feel bad for a kid that got murdered. Like this, what's wrong with y'all? Like this is beyond, right? Like this is beyond the whole political circus y'all playing in, because I don't play these little political circle games y'all be playing in.
Yeah. These are the conversations I have with white people about Ahmaud Arbery and shit like that. It's infuriating to have people where it's like, can you just like what Mark was saying? Can you just have a heart? You have a heart.
Your humanity
and
first.
Connect with another human being that's in pain, and just recognize that there's pain. There's pain. Okay, so let's step back from the pain and recognize what. Okay, now that we've said, look, I connect with you. I realize this is painful. This hurts, and it sucks, and it's bullshit. And there's some things that need to be done. What can we do to help? And then when you get enough. When you get it far enough down the line, then you can start talking about some of the other things that always get brought up.
Yeah. We can talk about the rhetoric later.
Yeah.
Where's your humanity first?
Right.
Conservatives are wondering. They say, yo, why can't we get the black vote? Because you have no humanity. You have lost it. You have you have allowed the media to strip you of your humanity. When somebody dies, the first thing you go look at is the headline. What was he? Black Lives Matter? Was he Democrat? Not saying like, yo, damn. We lost a human being.
Mm-hmm. They kicked down the door of the wrong. They kicked down the door to the wrong apartment and shot somebody who had nothing to do with anything that they were investigating. Well, do they have a criminal record though?
Right.
What?
Right.
What the fuck does that have to do with anything?
Take into consideration, we have been heavily, and I will stress this heavily, desensitized to violence. It's all. And I was on Twitter today, and this extremely pissed me off, and I had to get off because it made me sick and vile looking at this tweet. And it's where a girl said, if a guy doesn't sleep with me or misses one night with me during my pregnancy, then I'm gonna go out and get that baby aborted. And I was like, whoa, wait, and I just felt disgusted reading that because it's like. So the fact that the man doesn't stay in your bed with you because maybe he has another obligation or, something pops up, you're going to negate the life that you decided to create. And you feel as if he's not the one, he's not the man, so you're going to get rid of this life? What fucking sense does that make where it's okay to start killing and murdering babies and we're okay with it? Because you've been psychologically manipulated into thinking, well, it's my body, my choice. Yes, it's your body, your choice, but you have to think of the bigger picture. There's always something greater than you. That's why when we have and reproduce, you give your child a better lifestyle so that they can be better than you. But people aren't always thinking about being better. We're thinking about being complacent. People are all so stuck in their ways of, oh yeah, well, we're gonna go and vote for this guy because that's what we've been told our life, instead of doing the personal and research. I didn't go down this journey of starting to research the history of my people and where my spirituality comes from until my whole world got shattered about what reality could be and certain things along that nature. Nobody decides to think of a bigger picture. That's why I appreciate the fuck out of you, Hotep, because you are thinking about the bigger society, the bigger problem. And the bigger problem is that the black people don't give a fuck if you abort a baby. No. No. You have to think about more than yourself. If you can't think about more than yourself, then you're not helping this. Because you have to think, whatever you produce, whatever you provide yourself, you're supposed to be providing it for society for growth. But nobody does that shit. And it's infuriating, bro. It hurts.
It does hurt. It does hurt. I feel your pain, bro. The media, and I'm not talking about the media news. When I say the media, I'm talking about all forms of media. All forms of mainstream media has taught people it's better to be out for yourself. You often hear, conservatives run with that whole, the individual. And it's like, please add context and nuance to that. Because really quick within the individual comes selfishness. And it's not what we're talking about when we're talking about individualism. We're talking about the rights of the individual should not be infringed upon. But beyond that, we are a whole. We are all one people. And anybody who doesn't want to agree with that, I think we should throw them in the pits, the gulags. Oh, you want to be for yourself? All right, get your ass in the gulags, right?
Go fend for yourself.
Yeah, go fend for yourself. We should kick them. They should, like that's what you did back in the day. Oh, you don't want to be with Otis? All right, well, you go hang out in the wilderness now. Goodbye. And we'll be here as a tribe, and we'll learn to work together, and we'll put our own individual wants and needs and desires aside for the greater good. And people just aren't willing to do that at all, for anybody. And it just goes to show you like the maturity level of people of the right and the left is in the pits. Nobody's mature. Nobody wants to have a real conversation. It's just about who wins the day. Did we get into more likes and retweets than the other side today?
Well,
That's what this shit comes down
yeah,
to.
to the point that like I'm having this, this is 11 consecutive so far as long as I've been alive. 11 consecutive most important presidential elections of our lifetime since I've been alive, and this is going to be number 12 coming up in 3 months. And let me tell you, so what's interesting is the people who I get the most shit from, because that's most of like my family, friends, and all that stuff, is the conservatives. And they're like, no, it's going to be so much worse. I was like, God damn, man, what if there's like blood in the streets, buildings on fire, riots, massive unemployment, the Fed printing trillions and trillions of dollars? God, it would be terrible. Oh wait, that's exactly what we're living in right now. And then he's like, no, but it's going to be much worse if it's Biden. I'm like, all right, check this out, man. So 11 straight of these most important elections of our lifetime, 6-5 Republicans have won in those 11. How much more conservative and small government has the country gotten? How much more socialist has it gotten? And that's all you need to know.
Exactly.
I'm not having this fucking conversation anymore because it's not, you're not going to sit here and try to tell me, this lesser of two evils thing. And I got nothing. Apparently I'm not black because I'm not voting for Biden. But like this idea of like, if you don't do this the way if you don't vote, you're super evil. And if you vote and don't vote for Trump or Biden, then it doesn't matter which side, one of them's going to call you evil for voting the wrong way. Because you're apparently, so what I figured out was you get 3 votes if you vote third party. You vote for the person you voted for, and then you also vote for Trump, according to the Democrats, and you also vote for Biden, according to the Republicans. So it's voter fraud, and it's okay. It's better than mail-in ballots.
Man, I continue to become more and more of an agorist. I don't even give a fuck about all this whole bullshit. I think that the agorists got it right. The only way we're going to get out of this motherfucker. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the LP should keep doing their shit because they're educating people jumping on the wagon and learning shit and going and doing their thing. So that's all cool. And I'm going to help Adam if he runs again. I'll help his ass out because, for one, he's my friend, and 2, because he's talking truth, and if you can get that in front of people. But that's not going to get us there. Choosing a new master, like Spooner said, in a term of years isn't going to fucking matter. But if you start taking money away from that bitch, you start taking money away from them, you start investing in Bitcoin, you start fucking growing your own food, you start just dealing with your own community and starve the fuck out of that beast, you might be able to get there one day. And so that's what
at the very least, you'll protect yourself, you'll kind of insulate yourself and your community from it to the extent that you can. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting world that we live in. I heard you talking when you were with Peter McCormick about your vision of this sanctuary where you want to have like people who can kind of live free, eat healthy, study, learn, just kind of live off the land and all that sort of stuff. And that's, I mean, it's basically it's that same sort of concept of like agorism, where you just kind of remove yourself from, you find a place, hopefully you find a place that the ATF and the FBI doesn't come and bomb the shit out of or whatever, or attack some other way. But it's I think that's more, I don't know, I guess I think it's, I kind of equate it to like, I don't know, Dungeons and Dragons or one of these like online co-op games or whatever, where you have, there's wizards, there's a thief, there's like an assassin, there's, you've got a knight or a brute or something like that, and you've got an archer, some range weaponry, you've got to have all these different ways to attack that beast. It's not just, you can only do it with politics, or politics is useless and you can't use politics at all. No, like all of these things are vehicles because, like it or not, people are involved in politics. And so somebody has to be filling that void with the information that's needed for that and everything. And so that's why I kind of do all of these different things. I'm like, I'm going to do a little bit of everything. That's always kind of been my thing anyway, is like, I'm a bit of a jack of all trades. So I try to do as many different things, but I think that's what we have to do as like people who want to see people free, is we've got to do some of the politics stuff, or somebody has to, but then we also have to get into, and that's why I wanted to, what Marcus and I started doing when I came on was we were going through our stuff where we kind of bitched about how fucked up everything is, but then we also started to move towards solutions. So we've had some people on who've provided some of those solutions. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on was because I think that's a lot of what you're already doing with your, the work that you're doing with the tech companies, and also with, educating people with your literature that you've written, and also just with like, you're one of the most interesting and I don't know, thought-provoking Twitter follows that there is. Like it's not just a let me go to my standard, shit that makes me laugh or anything like that. Like it's like there's gonna be funny shit, but then there's also gonna be some stuff where it's like, damn man, like I'm kind of a mental CrossFit person. Like I need some muscle confusion in my mental diet, so to speak. So having someone who is constantly stretching and breaking my brain and then letting it build itself back together, making those new neuron connections and everything, it's very satisfying to me, but I think it's also a great place for growth. And so enough kissing your ass about how fun your Twitter follow is. I wanted to ask you about like where you see, how do we beat Skynet basically, and what are you, because we've got the Mogul Summit, which is great, but anybody who's not already doing that, it's well worth it to go in and join. You get to do what we're doing right now. We have the privilege of doing this. You get to do that every Saturday. And maybe not to this extent, because there's more people in there, but you still, I mean, shit, if you get in line, get your hand up, there's plenty enough time where I think you spend probably 10 or 15 minutes with anybody who has a question, at least 5 minutes.
I mean,
going through.
He's already showed with the screenshot. Just
right. Don't you want a piece of that? Yeah. So, but like, I'm looking at from the tech space, and going back to like I kind of see the CompUSA connection as a missed opportunity for me, where I feel like I was doing all those same things that you were talking about, helping my parents' friends fix their computers, spending a weekend putting somebody's shit back together, or unfucking their hard drive and making it to where their computer came on again, stuff like that. And then I went through this whole period of time where work and kids and, all this stuff. And it just kind of gets, 10 years goes by and you're like, whoa, I don't even recognize some of this software anymore. It's not the same, command prompt kind of shit that it used to be. I gotta learn some stuff. So where would you recommend that people go, especially somebody like myself or Marcus? Nicco's half our age, so he's got. But even for a young person, where do we go to do the best we can to kind of be a part of that defeating Skynet and getting ahead of the game on that?
Nicco, how old are you?
22.
22?
Sir.
Oh,
I envy that.
Unfortunately, I can't answer that question.
Yeah.
Because we're on Skynet.
Mm.
That's something that I'd have to answer in person. And, we'd have to confiscate your phone before we answer. I'd have to take a blood sample. You'd have to sign a blood oath.
All right.
I have the plan. I know how to do it. I know how to take this entire system down, but it's just not something I'm willing to discuss publicly. Yeah. But it's not hard. It's not hard to do, but I'm doing it, I'm every day. But I will say this, you can't do shit without power. Can't do shit without power, and money is power. So I'm focusing on the money. I'm focusing on the bag. Like I was texting with my attorney today, and looking to see what paperwork and what license I need. To start, the angels need to meet the SEC definition. So I'm gonna tell you what the communists say you need to become an accredited investor. To start, all angels need to meet the SEC definition of an accredited investor. Each has to have 1 million net worth and make at least 200K a year. So the communists say if you wanted to pool your funds with friends and invest in other friends, every friend has to be worth $1 million, right? That's basically what my attorney just told me. You have to be an accredited investor.
That's a big wall they just built up, isn't it?
It's a huge wall. I love that you said that, because that's exactly what it is. It's a fucking big ass wall, right? So I think that's terrible that I can't crowdfund sources from people who don't have $1 million in net worth. What if I had a dude who had maybe 30K sitting in cash and he wanted to give me 20K? Like, I just trust you with this shit, and I'll get this back by the end of the year. But he doesn't have net worth of 1 million. He can't be an angel. He can't invest his money.
That was my next question. Was like, we just did this whole house thing, and we moved. I won't get into all the details, but I have a little bit of cash that I'm looking to. There's some different stock investments and everything that I'm looking at too, but I'm waiting for this shit to stop fucking FOMOing me into oblivion, because it's just like the S&P just keeps skyrocketing. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm like, the unemployment's still like 15% or something in real unemployment, but whatever. Okay, I guess we'll just keep buying Amazon. But no, because that's one of the things that I was looking at is, all right, so I was going to ask you, like, from an equity standpoint, I know that's one of the things that you've talked about with, people have offered to either like pay you to do something, and you're like, no, just give
me a piece of your company.
Give me a percentage of your company. Yeah. And so what are you looking at with, like, because a lot of the stuff that you've gotten into with that didn't have any earnings or any revenue yet. Like, what did you see? What are you looking at? What do you see that makes you say, okay, this is
my motherfucking self? I'm betting on me.
You're just intuition.
No, I'm betting on me.
Oh, okay.
I'm betting on me. I'm walking in these companies and I'm saying, like, yo, how much power do I have here with this company, right? And if you listen to me, we'll win, right? So one of the companies I was working with, I'm not going to mention, but I said to him, yo, there was some problem with submitting to Apple's App Store, right? So I said to him, yo, just remove this and resubmit it. Somebody's getting paid $10 on the other end to review these apps. They're not going to check the code. Just make these changes, these front end changes that they're looking at, this $10 an hour wage employee, and submit it. What do you think this person did? They go and hire an attorney, and the attorney says, all right, I'm going to draw you up a contract letter. We're going to send this to Apple, and we're going to fight this thing and whatever. So, the partner says to me, oh, this is what we're going to do. So I let them, waste their money. I'm not putting no money up on an attorney, right? So the attorney draws up this letter, some shit I could have written my goddamn self. Send it to Apple. Apple sends back 2 big fuck yous. Like, I don't give a fuck about you and your little attorney letter. App's still not an app store. So now we're back.
But now you brought some attention to some shit that you probably didn't need to bring attention to.
right. Exactly.
That's one of the, like, the common, like, that's a fundamental of, like, getting audited or anything like that. It's like, leave, like, some shit laying around that, like, they're gonna be like, hey, that needs to be there. That's not safe. You need to pick that up. like if they're doing like a safety inspection. You remember from CompUSA days, it's like, leave a couple of things, leave like some end caps that are kind of disheveled a little bit, but like, don't make them go digging and find like the shit, but like, this shit's D66 and it's still out here. Like, don't let them see that shit.
Yeah.
Because there's that other stuff where it's like, man, you're gonna go have them find, and they're gonna find like some little nitpicky ass shit that is really gonna fuck you over and cost you tons of hours of time.
Right. So all that happens, right? So now we're back to square one. So what did I say to my partner? I said, look, make these little front end changes and resubmit the app. What do you think happened, yo? We made the little changes, submit the app, got approved, passed it through. Change nothing about the app, just little front end shit that your little wage employee. My partner goes, oh, I can't believe that worked. And this is what I'm saying. Like, I don't bet on founders. I bet on myself because it's fucking common sense. Like like nobody is paying anybody worth a damn. Look at like what they were doing with Twitter's team and Facebook's team, the people that like review tweets that like get reported.
Right.
These people aren't getting paid six figures. These are volunteers working for minimum wage from home, trying to make ends meet. These aren't skilled, thoughtful employees. They're just trying to meet a quota of how many things they got to look at.
Bro, I'm not joking. I called for a SIM card thing for one of my kids' phones. Like the SIM card was broken and they had to send me another one. And then it was broken and they had to send me another one.
Right.
I'm not lying. The chick I'm on the phone with, she's in India, clearly.
Yeah.
I hear chickens in the background.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, you're like, are you on a chicken farm? Like, I hear the chickens.
Yeah.
Loud chickens everywhere. And I'm like, so it's not this isn't a, you're not going to Jack with the
right, exactly. It's not going to Jack.
Tim
it's
Cook.
not going exactly. You're going to some like nondescript person, right? So for another example, why I say I bet on me, I'm betting on me. Like that's why I say if it's a company I'm joining, you got to put me on the board because I want equity and I want fucking say so because y'all are fucking idiots out here. I was working with another guy who was launching a company and he told me about his business model. His business model was like, I want to be the sports and entertainment agency. I was like, all right, well, what do you do? I do sports and entertainment. All right, what is specific? We can do this. And I'm like, pick one. And he couldn't pick one. I was like, fuck it. Well, you go and do your thing. I'll do my thing. And you call me back when you got something, right? So months later, he calls me back. He's got this guy on the phone and he couldn't close the guy. Now, let me just add a little bit of context before this. Before this, he's launching the company. He's like, I need a website. I need this. That. I'm like, you don't need none of that to do the business you want to be in. All you need is you and your business model. And he's like, no, we need a website. Da, 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 da. I'm like, yo, I get more business than you, and I don't have a website for my agency. I have more business for my agency after not having a website than I did when I did have a website. A website don't mean fucking shit unless you don't know what you're doing. Websites for people who don't know what they're doing. So I get on the phone with this guy. He couldn't close. He'd been trying to close this guy for 3 months. I get on the phone with the guy, talk to him for 1 hour. For 1 hour, I speak to this man. He sends me a check that night for $5,000. My homie gets his finder's fee for the deal because obviously he can't handle it. I got to handle it. And he says to me, he's like, yeah, how'd you do that? I'm like, yo, I told you, you don't need no fucking website. What you need is you need some fucking smarts. You need to fucking listen. That's the fuck you need to do. Right? I had, so that was him. Who was the other guy? I mean, I got a bunch of these cases where I'm talking to the founder and for another, I'll give you another one. And these people recently went out of business. This startup recently went out of business. I worked for them about 4 or 5 years ago. And the guy brings me on and I look at the app and I'm like, oh, this is for women. No, this is for men. I'm like, nah, this shit for women, dog. This shit for women. You over here playing fucking word games and shit on your phone. That's some shit that like moms are doing at home. Nah, it's for men. All right, no doubt. Anyway, when we're dealing with mobile apps, the transactions are instant, right? So I told him, I said, yo, I can't really run the Facebook ads in this because you don't have the pixels installed. We don't know when a purchase conversion is coming through. So Facebook can't optimize for purchases. Oh, don't worry about it. Just keep running the ads. Now you might not want to because the ads aren't going to optimize you the way you want them to. I run the ads for weeks. For weeks, he's on my back. How come it's not working? How come it's not working? So I sent a second email. Yo, we need to have this happen, right? So the CTO and dev guy says, oh, that's not important right now. I'll add it to the next update. Sure, no doubt. Add it to the next update. The update comes 30 days later. Now, I'm watching this shit at home, knowing the update is going to come through. So as soon as the update goes out, I look.
Uh-oh.
It's usually me.
Sales 10x.
Oh, sorry. You froze up there.
Hey, Brian, you froze up. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Can
Oh,
you
there
hear
you
me?
are. Yeah, there you are.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So the 30 days went by and you.
So 30 days went by. We fucking the pixels start firing, and the sales 10x We 10x sale overnight. Don't you know these motherfuckers had the nerve to ask when I walked in and worked the next, what happened? They said, yo, what happened? Why is it working right now? I said, we installed the pixels. I said, we installed the pixels.
Right.
So that can't be it. I said, oh my fucking God. Now you can't say this in the office, right? But in my head, I'm like, yo, where the fuck am I? Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, you're frozen up again.
We can still see you and hear you for the most part.
Yeah, we can hear you, but it was your camera was frozen up.
Okay. So yeah, so that thing, right? And it's like I keep working with these, and it's comments is make and everybody do what they think the book is.
Let me text him.
Me to do a job if you're not going to listen. Am I still frozen?
Yeah, it's like your connection roughed up. I don't know what happened. Everything was cool, and then it just went south. Like your camera's a lot grainer. I mean, we heard you talking about the pixels coming in and everything, and then but it was real choppy and very.
The pixels go in, right?
Gotcha.
No, I'm not hearing you. Well, I mean, we kind of hear you, but it's like robot voice and like very garbled. If you can get out and get back in or something, I don't know. Your camera's frozen now.
We'll edit this out.
Okay.
Where are we at? So hour and a half.
Hour and a half, yeah. Yeah, there he is. Okay, he's back. And hopefully he'll be in the same spot. Okay, yeah, he's in the same spot. All right.
Yo.
I hear you now. Okay, that's better. That's better.
Better?
Now everything is in
So yeah. So they finally put the pixels in, right?
Yeah.
They finally installed the pixels, and I'm looking at the analytics because I'm the digital manager, right? And the sales spike, right? 10x overnight. We do 10x what we normally do in sales overnight, right? So I come into work the next day, and they asked me. They said, "Yo, what happened? How come everything? Where'd all this traffic come from? Where'd all these sales come from?" And I'm like, "Yo, we installed the pixels I've been telling y'all to install for the past few months." They're gonna say to me, "No, that can't be it." I was like, yo, like in my head, I'm like, yo, I want to slap the fuck out of everybody here, right? But I'm the black guy in, New York office, startup, and I have to be patient. So what did I do? From my experience, I just sat down and just typed another email. Today's spikes are due to the fact that we can now track because of the Facebook pixels. This is all normal. Nobody be alarmed. Now, guess what you think they did? They fired me.
They fired you.
Because they didn't need me no more. They figured out the problem. They figured out how to get the sales. Meanwhile, I told them how to get the sales the first day I walked in the office. I could have, and so we lost about, I want to say 3 to 4 months. I worked for this company, playing around, trying to make this thing work that I knew was broken, and I had to make a broken thing work. And he's sitting there every day. He's hounding me. Why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? Why is it working? I'm like, yo, it's the pixels. It's the pixels. So after a while, I just stopped repeating myself. I was like, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. And I'm trying. Like, do you know how hard it is to run ads to something that's broken?
Right.
Like, it is like our ROI was -90.
Damn.
It was like -90 daily, -99 on the ad spend, -98 on the ad spend. I got it down to -90. Right? Then the day after they installed the goddamn pixels, the shit 10x's, and everybody wants to act like I'm the fucking idiot.
Right.
Then they fired me and put the feminist in my spot, and now today that startup is defunct. So I said, you know what? I'm not doing this shit no more with these fucking founders, yo. if I'm gonna come and work with you, you're gonna give me a piece of your fucking company, and I'm not gonna do 4 years vested. You're gonna give it to me up the fuck front. I want at least the vesting to start day one that I start. It's got to start vesting, and you got to give me a chunk right away. I don't even want it to be vested daily. I want my first chunk the day I walk in. So when I walk into these companies, it's like, yo, either you giving me a piece of your company or you not, because you don't know how to run this bitch. That's why you asking me to come on. Like, let me do my things. So you say when I'm looking at things, there are certain things I look for in a company, right? And I'm not going to explain that here because that's what the Mogul Summit is for. You can pay $99 and you guys can ask me that question, what I think I look for, right? Pay $99 a month. You can ask me that and I'll tell you all my secrets. Chad will tell you, it's shit I say during this thing that Chad didn't even think I knew, right? Because I don't show my power levels. But I bet on me when I work with these companies. And I say, look, if we're going to work
you do shit in 5 minutes that I don't think most people could do in 10 weeks. It's like crazy.
Yeah. And this is the thing I tell founders, but they see black guy, dreads, doesn't talk like, CJ Pearson. So they think, must be idiot because they're used to that stereotype. That's how they're programmed. And it's like, bro, I've been doing this shit before. I've been running businesses before you even had your first business. I've had 10 businesses under my belt before you ran your first one. I've been fucking did it all. The only thing I haven't done was had an exit strategy worth $1 million because the one company I did had, I let it go because I went through a fucking dumbass spiritual awakening. If I'd have kept that, I'd be a millionaire 10 times over already. And that was a big mistake. And never sell your never give up your property for free. Always keep it in the house somehow.
Keep it in the house or sell it for a big bag.
Yeah. But I let a multi-million-dollar property go. Let's just say that. I just let it go. I abandoned it because I went through this dumbass spiritual awakening. But had it not been for that, like I've built so many fucking corporations and I've built so many things. And it's just like, I talk to these founders and they say, yo, I need your help. All right, no doubt. What you need my help for? I need to do this, this, and this. All right, no doubt. This is what you got to do. But because I can spit it out like that, they think it's not going to work, right? You know how I work, Chad. It's just like
because it's too easy. They want it to be hard. It's almost like they want it to be hard.
Right.
I mean, I know because I struggle with that same thing myself. Like it's not. I guess maybe we're conditioned that way to think like shit can't be that simple. It's like the thing I sent out, when I promoted this show last week or a week and a half ago or whatever about Peter like walking on water. And then he's like, oh, fuck, I'm walking on water. Oh, shit. And he starts sinking. It's like defeating doubt. Like that defeating doubt thing where you have to get past like, hey, no, like we made all this shit. Like we can make it. We can make it better.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. We just have to figure it out and work through it.
We have to
but
haven't really been presented to. So now I'll just bring this to the Black struggle to make it a lot easier. Financing is not taught necessarily in the Black household like it is on other households. So, we're playing catch up. That don't mean that Black people can't be striving. There's the damn internet out here. Right. But it also takes a chance of it to be presented to somebody. It's always that horse that's willing to drink because it knows it's got to go back to the desert. And that's like with it being in Hotep, you can present the idea to somebody like Hotep Jesus, but when he shows you the facts, I don't want to believe it. Nigga, just pay attention. It's not hard. We're so stuck in the I don't want to believe it kind of mentality until it's shown to us. Yeah. But you have to, first thing you say, and you say it on your homepage, and not just use everybody else who's damn near successful, is you have to eliminate the doubt. Doubt is the thing, that is the motherfucker windblower that comes and knocks your parade over. Like, as soon as you get rid of that, you can conquer this world because you're able to continue to strive on without the idea of doubt bringing you down like a pool, if you will, a sand.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much in the frame of mind where if I hire you to do some shit, just do this shit. I don't really give like Chad. I hired him to do a video. I'm like, yo, throw this shit together. And he's like, how you want me to do that? I don't give a fuck. It's your job. You're the video guy. Like, why
Yeah,
the
you're
fuck should
like,
I
just
think
do your
about this?
thing. He said, just do your thing. That was the
Yeah.
response I got. I was like, all right.
And then he sent me back the thing. I think I had like maybe 2 things I wanted to change that were like 5-second changes. And he sent it back and it was compiled and it was done. Like, I'm not about to sit up here and fucking, you know, argue with somebody about like their job and what they do, right? And that's what a lot of founders do. They bring me on and they hire me, and it's just like, and nowadays I tell them, I'm like, there's 2 ways we can do this way. We can do this the easy way, or we can do this the long way. The easy way is you listen to me. The long way is you don't listen to me, and I'll pretend like I don't know the answer, and I'll present it 30 days later, and you'll be like, wow, this is amazing. How'd you think of this? Which way would you like to go? Would you like me to tell you the answer right now, or would you like to wait 30 days?
That's a great setup.
Right? And
how
no
long
matter
did it take
what,
you to figure out that hack, though? Like, how many different people being stubborn did you have to go through before you, like, said, all right, I think I have a way to fucking get through that barrier? I'll just present it to them as like, this is the barrier that I've come up against so many times. I will just eliminate this barrier now. And if you say we're going to choose the long way, I'm out.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know what? I ain't got time for that. We got to build companies now, right? So I had one dude reach out to me, and he's like, yo, I want your help. Actually, no, check this out. We connected on something like, it's like a relationship matchmaker, but for businesses. And individuals that want to invest or work, right? So company matches with me, and I'm like, cool, check it out. Like, yo, yeah, I'd love to match with you guys, right? Like, they sent and I accepted, right? Cool. I didn't hear from them. Week goes by. I sent a follow-up email. Hey, what's going on? Didn't hear any response. Cool. Sent a second one a week later, and I said, hey, we matched. I just want to take this off my desk if this is no good. I don't want to think about it anymore. I don't want to follow up with you anymore. He's like, look, we found a candidate. We don't need you anymore. Good. What the fuck you think happened, yo? 2 weeks later, here comes this motherfucker. Hey, you know, we'd like to speak to you. Oh, you like to speak to me. I know what happened. You actually fucking looked me up and found out who the fuck I was, right? I get on the Zoom.
Or their candidate fucked up that they found. Or whatever.
No, he Googled me. No, he Googled me.
Oh, okay, that's what it was? All
because
right.
I got on the phone call and he's all smiles. Oh, well, how's it going, bro? It's a pleasure to be here with you. Oh, yeah, you finally fucking Googled me, huh? You finally fucking Googled me and realized who the fuck you was dealing with. Welcome. How you doing, bro? And even him, I'm going to have trouble getting to trust me, right? Because he asked me, he said, yo, how do we launch this company? And I was like, you sure you want that answer? It's like, yeah. I'm like, I can give you that answer, but you'd have to execute on it.
Oh, shit.
So I gave him the answer. Do you think he executed on it yet?
I don't know.
Of course he didn't. But you know what's going to happen? Months are going to go by. I'm going to come back to the same idea I gave him from the very beginning. He's going to execute on it. I'm going to have explosive growth. So it's like, either you can fucking listen to me or you cannot, right? Because I've proven that I can do magic, literally. So if you said no the first time, then you go Google me and you see how great I fucking done with myself and our brand. And then we're on the phone and you ask me how to win and I tell you how to win and you're too scared to execute what I told you how to win. Why the fuck was you impressed with me in the first place?
Yeah, I agree. And these are truths that transcend. The simple answer is almost always the right fucking answer. It reminds me, Adam used to talk about flat earthers, right? And one of the things that he brought out, it was when people thought that the world was flat, they figured out all these different fancy ways that shit had to go for it to work. And then they found out, oh, what do you know? The world's fucking not flat. It's a ball, and all your math works just perfect. It's easy and simple. And that's the way it is. You know, and we're told all this shit all the time. But unfortunately, the powers that be, it works in their favor. And we're talking, whether you're talking business or you're talking religion or you're talking government, doesn't matter. Anybody in charge, it works to their benefit to have you doing all this other bullshit while they can just real quick do their bullshit real fast, get it done. And so, because it's the same shit that Jesus talks about in the Sermon on the Mount. He's very simple. Don't you think that that if I'm taking care of the weed of the field, that you're going to be all right? But you got to trust in yourself, and you have to trust in that simple answer. And it's hard because we're told.
Watch this.
We're told it can't be that easy.
I'm going to show you another example. I got this company that reached out to me, right? Says, hey, Hotep, just following up with our past conversation about blank company. Been following your podcast about Bitcoin, so on and so forth. Enjoyed your episode with Peter, da-da-da-da. He's trying to connect me. So I said, is this from me? I just want to make sure this is from me. So I said, sure, what is better? I said, let's talk Wednesday. I'm out of town. He said, sure, whatever works best for me. So then I think this is 12/16/2019, 12/16/2019. Then February 6th, he said, you want to pick this up again, right? So I guess we never connected for some reason, right? Then he hits me up February 6th. I think I ignored him. Because he probably didn't answer, my questions on what my concerns were. Anywhere. April 29th, I said, are we discussing equity? Right? And he says to me, what are you bringing to the table?
Oh, yeah, I remember this. Yeah, I remember this one. What you bringing to the table? Like,
now keep in mind, he reached out to me.
Right.
So this was my response to him. Why did you initially contact me? Because that's the answer.
Right.
I don't know why you liked me. You tell me why you liked me, and that's what I can bring to the fucking table, bro. But I want in on the cap table, right? I want in on the fucking boardroom. You're not about to block me from the boardroom. You're not about to block me from the cap table. I know you're trying to build a social network around influencers, and I'm not like these other influencers take cash. I want fucking equity. You can give them cash. So then here he comes back. He said, I thought I'd appreciate what you've built, considering you're sinking your YouTube channel to earn some crypto. Like, I give a fuck about earning some fucking crypto. Like he's offering me these fucking fake coins that have no value. You're not offering me Bitcoin. You're offering me some shit coin. So I said, look, this is my response. I said, I earn a lot of money, so I'm not starving from cash. Now, keep in mind, I was raised with a silver spoon in my mouth, so you cannot fucking bribe me. I'm fucking paid, bro. So I said, if I put my content on a platform, I have to own it. That's where I'm at in my career. If someone doesn't add me to their cap table, then I'll create the software myself. Let me know when you're ready to have that conversation, and best of luck. Here he come back. He says, you actually do own it because you get a piece of the shit coin by syncing your content. I'm like, yo, so again, he's insulting my intelligence. No, he's insulting my intelligence.
Okay.
Because you keep coming back to me about this currency when I told you I want to own a piece of your fucking company. So I said, thanks. I'll observe from the outside. Because he started naming all these influencers, right? So I said, your list of influencers doesn't impress me. A whole bunch of, grifters, probably a lot of people that we're going to have nominated for these awards, right? So I said, YouTube is where the world is. You can't match that. I need equity to bring my audience to another platform that can't promise me what YouTube does.
Right.
I'm not no fucking dummy, yo. The reason why we're on YouTube is because YouTube offers the ability to be discovered.
Right. People just see your shit because they watch something else.
And it's already on their phone.
Right.
To send me money is a fingerprint away.
Right.
You can't offer me any of that technology. You can't offer me any of the same exposure, but you want me to bring my content to your platform. If I'm going to do so, you got to give me a cut of your company. And if you can't do that, then just go find somebody else. You don't need Hotep Jesus. This guy's at me on Twitter. I had to block him yesterday.
That's funny.
Oh, damn.
I had to block him yesterday because he started posting content under my thread. Now you're trying to get my audience by trolling my threads. So now you block. You're not going to get my audience, bro.
He tried basically bribing you with the new gods, a.k.a. Celebrities or materialism, a.k.a. money. bitch, I'm beyond that. I'm beyond that. You have to take into consideration that, like, my brain processes a little bit faster than yours. I've been in this tech shit before. And on top of that, you're offering me influencers who I don't give a fuck, because if I did, I would reach out to them.
Right.
And if I did, then that means I'm talking business. But if I was doing that, I'd be excluding you. So back to point one. What do you want?
What do you want? What do you want?
Nicco just broke it down.
Yo.
That was perfect.
You can't blame the guy. You can't blame him. He's used to people selling the fuck out.
Right.
He's used to people having no goddamn clue what the
Yeah.
fuck they're doing. He's used to, oh, I know so-and-so. Well, go fuck yourself.
Well,
I know.
what's really disappointing about that, though, to me is, like, I don't know, like this little group on this 4 screen here. Well, the 3 of us, when we saw you, we saw something different. We recognized, like, there's no way on earth I'm gonna be like, hey, you know what? I have an idea. Why don't you retweet some of my stuff or something like that? Like, no, like, I don't want that. I want to talk to you. That's why I brought up that thing that you said about Joe. I was like, shit, I want to talk to him for an hour. Like, I just would love to talk to him for an hour. I just want to be able to, like, tap into, like, all right, so I kind of want to do this. I kind of want, because I still, like, I was at the point that I actually got to talk to you. I was still kind of, like, all over the place. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I'd been so far disconnected from, like, trying to get that entrepreneur game up that I was like, man, I don't know. Like, I can do video stuff. I do this. These are the things I'm interested in, but I'm just kind of in, like, I don't fucking know. I just need to make sure I keep paying my bills and keeping my kids fed and all that shit. Right. And in the meantime, I can do some stuff on the side and figure it out. And now, like, I've started to
coming into your own.
Like, this thing with this, it's gonna come. Yeah. I'm planning, like, by Sunday, I want to have this Kamala Biden thing done. And I want it to hit, when it hits, and
it's gonna hit.
It may or may not be the big blow up or whatever at that point, but it's coming. The thing that I have found my voice, so to speak, in terms of that stuff, because that's what's frustrating, is to watch something like that and to not see it's that thing that you brought up way back when, like in March or something like that. Put gas in the tank of the car that's going where you want to go.
Right.
And that's the mentality that people seem to miss, is that they think either that you owe them something, or they don't even recognize that you're going where they want to go, and that all they have to do is just, like, embrace it and be a part of it, because what you can do is you can support this, and it helps you anyway.
Right.
So it's
and I'm very easy to talk to, and like I said, when I say add me to the cap table, I didn't ask for 50% of your company. I know that's ludicrous, but this is the only discussion. Yeah, right. This is the only discussion I'm willing to have. So why would you dance around that? For example, I got another social network, right? Crypto social network. And they're adding a new feature now, which allows you to zap your videos from YouTube. You know, the whole BitChute thing or whatever. Yep. And I'm actually about to take my content off of BitChute. I'm about to disconnect that because I don't like the crowd at BitChute. So I'm looking for a new place to park my stuff.
It also takes forever to upload, according to Marcus.
So this company, I'm speaking to this company via text. The actual founder and CEO. These are the only people I speak to. I don't speak to workers. I'm speaking to the founder and CEO. We're texting back and forth. And I'm telling him some things that he needs to do to make his social network happen, right? Now, keep in mind, I've been on social networks probably before he even got on his first computer. So the guy says to me, if you want a job, just say so. That is the last thing you want to say to Hotep Jesus.
Oh, hell no.
Because the one thing about me is I don't want no fucking job. You know how many jobs I turned down? I was offered a 6-figure job, and I told the guy, look, I need a corner office with a window and to hire my own. I purposely asked for shit they knew they couldn't give me, just not to take the job, because I want my sanity before you give me your fucking 6-figure job, your 6-figure, because I know what they're going to do when they pay you 6 figures. They're going to work the shit out of you. So by the time I work the hours, it's going to come down to $60K, right? So if I'm going to fucking work for $60K, then I need to have a real nice fucking office, and I want to pick my own guys that are going to work under me. I'm not working with your current staff. I don't give a fuck who you got in there now. I'm going to interview them, and if I say they got to go, they got to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this guy says to me, if you want a job, just say so. Who the fuck you think you talking? No fucking job. I want on your cap table, bitch. I want in the boardroom, bitch. I want no fucking job. I can go get a job. I've had over 100 jobs. I'm exaggerating, but I've had dozens and dozens. If I wanted to just shoot for a fair range of how many jobs I've had, I would have to say plus 30. I'd have to say plus, and that's jobs. That's not even working with consulting and that whole life. That's just between 20 and 30. I've had 30 jobs. I want no fucking job. I know what it's like to go work in the office and be head of marketing. I've done that. I don't want that fucking position. If you give me head of marketing, you got to give me head of marketing. I want autonomy. Don't come back to me and tell me how to run my department. Fuck you. I'll leave. You want to run the marketing department? You run it. I'll leave. You can have your input, but I get final say-so on my motherfucking work, because you know what happens? I'm going to tell you what happens, and it has happened to me in the past. I present the marketing plan. Here's what we're going to do. Here's our strategy. Here's our tactics. This is what we're going to do. Then they tear the bitch apart, right? They tear it down, and it makes something that's whole new, right? Then it fails, and then they look at me and they go, why didn't it work? Bitch, because it ain't my plan.
It's like clockwork.
It's about everybody wanting to be right. It's like the conversations, it's like the arguments. It's like, no, let's have a fucking discussion. And I can pick your brain apart and you can pick mine apart.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you have to understand you hired me because I'm going to fucking make it successful. It's people don't think outside of themselves, and it's so agitating. Like, I need y'all to have a bigger perspective on what this world is going to be, because guess what, boo-boo? That fit is not going to be worth shit in 20 years from now, except for a picture. Or that car that you got that's just sitting in your garage is going to depreciate as soon as it leaves the lot. So it doesn't fucking matter. It only matters when you attribute something for the greater good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And the thing that they don't understand, and maybe it's because you're black, maybe it's because you got dreads. I don't know.
I'm not the right kind of black.
Right. Whatever it is, they don't realize the reason that they wanted to find you or that they sought you out or whatever is because you're a fucking leader. And they need to let leaders lead. And the bottom line is that, again, when we have a society that is based on coercion, we have a society that is based on force and based on fucking, I'm in charge, I'm the guy. Well, put that shit away. If you want to be successful, when I started working for Adam didn't tell me what the fuck to do. He said, I need these things done, make it happen. I said, okay, and I did it. And so it's about letting leaders be leaders. I didn't ask to do shit for Adam. He asked me. And I was like, what the fuck do you want me to do? And he's like, I want you to be my media guy and I want you to do all this shit. And I said, okay, I don't know how to do that. And he said, well, can you figure it out? I said, yeah. And he said, okay, then do it. And I said, okay. And so I fucking did it. But he didn't ever tell me, I need you to do it this way. I need you to do it this way. And I need you to do it that way. And that's what's wrong with our society as a whole, is we don't let our leaders be leaders because we're too busy trying to get them to go to fucking stand in line, put their fucking slave muzzle on, and fucking obey. Fuck you, I don't obey. I'm a leader. Learn it, live it, and that's where it's at.
Yeah,
well, that's because
I read how to do marketing on this blog. That's I read this blog. You think we should be implementing this? No, stop fucking reading blogs, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I'm your blog.
Yeah, listen. There's a reason that I'm successful. There's a reason that I put this together. There's a reason you said, oh, I got to check out Hotep Jesus, because you knew how to succeed. So shut the fuck up and get out of my way.
And get out of my way.
That's because people are too afraid to lead in the first place. They're it goes back to that the plague of Atlas Shrugged, where everyone is just like, well, I can't make that decision, I have to call my boss. Well, I can't make that decision, I have to call my boss. And it's all like when everybody's looking to defer the responsibility to someone else so that they don't have to actually complain or have the ownership and be responsible for the results of the decision themselves. They look to use other people as a scapegoat, either above them or below them. And so that's why they'll do this thing with you where it's like, all right, what's your plan? Well, I don't think that's going to work because so-and-so and such doesn't approve of it. And so we're going to do it this way instead so that they're happy. It's like, well, fuck them, because they're not going to be happy with the results. And it's like, well, that's not my problem because I'm between you and them. And you'll get the brunt of that. I'll keep my job. Everybody's happy. I do what they told me to do. I hired a great marketing guy. And then I also did what they said to do, which is don't do X, Y, and Z. But you said we should do X and Y. You were agreed that we shouldn't do Z. But X and Y you thought actually might be brilliant. So I can't do that because they told me not to. So that's going to be shut down. We're going to do A and B instead. A and B flops like a motherfucker. And here you are. And so then they're like completely insulated in this bubble of no responsibility for decisions whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, you got
all the way to the top.
You got the fucking startup and they got a trivia app. And guess who they fucking hire as a fucking influencer, a goddamn football player. You got a trivia app and you hire a football player to be your, but he's smart. He went to Stanford. I don't give a fuck what college he went to and how smart he is. We got a trivia app and you're over here blowing money on influencers that don't even work. And is anybody that wants to tell you how an influencer program works or how you need to make that bitch work, you need to holler at me or you need to pay attention to what TikTok did. TikTok, there's a reason why TikTok is successful because they know how to treat their influencers. When their black influencers came, they flew all the black influencers out to Cali, throw them in a house and let them create for a whole weekend and throw them a big ass party and then cut up a viral video. Do you think those influencers are going to another network?
Hell
no. They rolled out the red carpet for you. But instead, you'll opt for, you'll take that same budget, right?
Spend it on one big name.
And spend it on one big name. And I'm gonna tell you, I spoke to this one company. I was working with this one startup, and they hired a rapper. I'm not gonna say his name. They hired a rapper. They sent him $30K to represent the company. The rapper didn't even do so much as a tweet. Took that $30K and ran. Damn. Right? So when I got there, I said, look, don't spend any money on influencers. Do not buy another single influencer until you run it past me and I make the negotiations and I tell you how to run the influencer program. What do you think that guy did?
Still bought another influencer.
Still bought another influencer. What do you think happened when that influencer came on board?
Not shit.
Not shit. Now he's looking at me, yo, Brian, why isn't this working? Did I tell you to get that influencer? Yeah, but he's got such and such reads. He's irrelevant, bro. This motherfucker was relevant in the 90s. You went and got fucking DL Hughley. Nobody give a fuck about DL Hughley, bro.
I hit him with adios, Felicia.
Yes, hey. And then be mad at me when I'm like not enthusiastic on the call. Right? Because if I tell you not to do something, I get on the call, now I have to do mental gymnastics and like, all right, how do I get through to this guy? So instead of thinking ideas of how to grow the company, I'm thinking of ideas how to fucking make your brain tick.
Right.
And you want to fucking go out and get all these goddamn influencers. If you're going to do it, I built this one company. It was a mom and pop company. I built this company with no budget. And this company operates on its own to this day off of organic influencers that we never paid not a single dime. You know what we gave them? We gave them fucking recognition and they loved it. We included them in something special and they loved it. And we spoke to them on the phone and we called. And if they needed something, we supplied it. We, it was a certain way you got to build these influencer programs.
Yeah, you build loyalty.
Yeah, well, first of all, here's the one thing that these people do that's wrong. They go get influencers one by one. Never get influencers one by one. This is the last gem I'm going to give motherfuckers that's listening. They go, all right, let's go get this guy. All right, what happened? Okay, let me go get this guy. Okay, what happened? And you get these little spikes because you add these guys. You get these little spikes. But you know what happens for your overall brand? Not a fucking thing. Chad, how much money have we spent over at Hotep Nation? Minimum.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not much.
We don't spend no money at Hotep Nation. All of our calls are operational. All of our calls, and we reach massive amounts of people. Now, once we add the money, what do you think is going to happen? Wait till you see the next move I'm about to pull. I already made the phone call today. When you see this next move, you're going to be like, holy fucking shit, it's starting. But there's something I know about building a brand that most people don't know about building a brand. And I can teach it to people. I can show people. It's going to cost you $90 a month.
Hey, but I actually think that's what you can best ways. That's one of the best ways for a foundational leader to like show you guys. It's like, all right, look, you niggas are acting dumb. Not only niggas, but you white people and everybody else is acting dumb. I'm about to put you on game. And not only is it game, but it's building for your future. So you are building something that, like, I'll keep going to it, and I don't care if it's kiss ass or what, but you're one of the only, no, I can't say only, one of the few black leaders that I can sit down and digest the whole 2 hours of information and learn something from it. It makes me want to go do something because I can't, no other, yeah, The Rock's going to want to make me go into the gym. All right, cool. What else has he done for me? Like, what else? And so, like before we started, you said that I was reading this book, and it's, Jay-Z and a couple other people went under it. But it's like, what have those influencers truly done for me? I would rather sit at a dinner table with you than Jay-Z. Fuck that nigga having all of his millions and billions. Like, you're the one who I've been able to connect with on a more personal level. And it's all about connection and connectivity. People like that. People only consume. We are like energy vampires. People don't understand. We are vampires. We suck on people and we don't take in recognition. It's like, yeah, you're giving me all this information and hopefully I'll be able to help you. No, what the fuck can you feed me besides the information that I give you? Everybody's a vampire nowadays. Everybody is consumer. And then when you get to that producer ass mindset, then you have a whole nother way of viewing things or a whole nother of processing things. Nobody wants to, because everybody wants to be in the singularity. Yes, I would love to be a part of Hotep Nation, but I want to build my own shit too. I want to grow and grow my own recognition. I want to have my own schools, my own libraries, my own this, my own that. But I have to go and help you to help establish that in the first place. And
well, here's the thing about Hotep Nation. And here's something that I've understood from the very, very beginning. You don't get anywhere alone. Exactly. You do not get anywhere alone. In fact, I had my first record label, and my friend had his record label, and I said, yo, we should just join forces and run under one flag. Nobody could ever, egos clashed and whatever. So he's had his label, I had mine. Years later, it happened anyway, because there was a whole bunch of us. I think it was 5 record labels total that combined under one label. We were called the Maniac Squad. And the Maniac Squad was like, at that time, was like the most popping thing in underground hip hop. The most popping thing in underground hip hop. And we really were like, we were big in the UK. We were starting to get on to cable TV. And this is before like the internet was as it is now, It's like YouTube was still trying to grow, right? YouTube was still like the place to go. Yeah. And so this thing blew up huge. And I said, see what happens when everybody gets together under one flag and everybody puts their ego aside? See, Hotep Nation isn't Hotep Jesus. Hotep Nation is a conglomerate of people, right? And that's what I understood. I said, yo, and I always tell people, I said, don't start a personal brand. Do not start a personal brand. That's the last thing you want to do. People think Hotep Jesus is great because he has a personal brand. No, I do not. I have Hotep Nation. That means a nation of people behind me, my partners, right? This is a group effort. And when you have a group effort, you are undefeated. 5 fingers make a fist. You can't make a fist with 1 finger. You're going to break it when you try to punch somebody. But you ball all them 5 up, you can knock somebody out. So that's why I say, even so then what happened? I had another friend who had his record label, and I had my record label. We became a group, Demick in Boston. We had more success as a group than any of our friends as solo artists. We did more tours. We sold more records. We had more notoriety. We were seen. I mean, we just did more. I mean, that's the shit that got me damn near with 50 Cent. By the group. So when you join Hotep Nation, you're not joining Hotep Nation to push Hotep Jesus. You're joining Hotep Nation because you can get something from the bitch. Because you got to remember, people always talk about, the lone wolf. Wolves don't hunt alone. They hunt in packs. That's what makes wolves so dangerous. They hunt in packs. The lioness doesn't hunt alone. They hunt in packs. Lions don't hunt alone. When the male lion leaves the pride because he gets kicked out because he's replaced by another male, he can only prey on the weak. He can't even catch the healthiest prey. But the lionesses, they flank the enemy. They work as a group and they flank the enemy. So that's the thing we have to understand with Hotep Nation. It's not about pushing Uncle Hotep. It's about the fact that when you put Hotep next to your name, people go, oh shit, I gotta follow this motherfucker.
No joke. It happens.
Another Hotep?
Right.
Follow. They don't even think about it.
Right.
It's just association.
Hotep, would I be like Hotep Aquarian or some shit like that?
Yes. And people would be like, oh shit, another Hotep Aquarian, boom, I'm in. Because I built a brand, right? Never build a personal brand. Always build a brand. That's what I always teach all my students. Don't do that. A lot of people are like, here's how you build a personal brand. Don't build a personal brand. That's what I can tell you how to build one, but I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna regret that shit. I regret every day being Hotep Jesus. I regret this shit.
Yeah.
Every day.
What you're talking about reminds me of, I did a whole series for Adam on like freedom fighters throughout history, and one of my favorites was Red Cloud, who defeated the American, this right after the Civil War. He was a Sioux Indian, led the Sioux War. They defeated the American government and the American military to the point where they had to unconditionally surrender to Red Cloud. And how he did, and what you're talking about is what the Sioux did. They, sure, you had your leaders, you had your Red Cloud, you had the people that were in charge, but the reason they were in charge was because they were good at shit. He was a good tactician, so he did stuff, but it took Crazy Horse, it took the other fucking members of the Sioux and the Cheyenne and the different ones to build that shit together. And now at the end of the day, sure, Red Cloud shined, and it was because he was shining that they he was the one they needed to make arrangements with, which, to be clear, was, you don't come in here or we'll kill every fucking one of you. It was the arrangement that they made, and it lasted until Red Cloud was too old to do anything, and then they came in and fucked shit up, because that's what government does. But it's what people miss about the concept of anarchy. They miss because they want it to be, you don't have any rulers, or you don't have any rules, you don't have any law, you don't have all that
structure or anything like that. Yeah,
but we've got that. We believe in that. We just don't believe in rulers. We don't believe that anyone owns another human being. We don't believe that anyone can be in charge of your life. You're in charge of your life. If you decide to work with me, fan-fucking-tastic. Move forward, work together. But it's the same stuff. And I'm telling you, while you're building Hotep Nation, and when it gets there, if you're half as successful as Red Cloud was, you will conquer your space. You will get it, because you've got the mentality, you've got the drive, and you've got the personality. And people want to say, oh, it takes brains. No, it does take personality. You have to have charisma. You have to be able to attract people. It's, when we're talking about all these fucking conservative black people that don't have any idea, Chad and I were talking about this earlier. You have to have, the reason that people keep losing that are Republicans to blacks is because they don't adopt the fucking what the blacks have, and that is control over the fucking world. You guys can, the black community controls what is cool, what is in, what is popular. You know, everything is moved, fashion. You know, if everybody follows that shit, and it's all because it has heart, and people resonate with that shit and move forward with it. You know, I didn't listen to Tupac because I liked, you know, the way he looked in a bandana. I listened to him because he hit me in my fucking heart. And that's why I think you're going to be successful. And I think that's why you've been successful thus far, is because you get the culture. You understand the culture that you're working in and your community. Because what we're talking about is cooperation versus coercion. You're talking about building a cooperative life. And that's where I think that we can find common ground in what we're doing. And I know that Chad has been pushing like hell to get you to come hang out with some libertarians. And I'm telling you, it is a smart idea to not be in charge of that shit. If you yourself want to be in charge, don't do that.
Fuck you, Marcus.
Yeah,
Oh, wait, why are we still on this topic?
but
What'd you say?
What'd you say,
The
Nicco?
Constitution. You want to talk about shitting on the Constitution? You have a problem.
but I do. But we've talked about some really cool stuff tonight. But if you did decide that it was if Hotep Nation decided that getting involved in the Libertarian Party would be helpful for you, or, you know, as the Hotep Nation, I do think you could build something very, very strong. You have to make the right allies. And
it's almost 50 years old, but it's still practically a startup.
Right.
So, like, you could seriously own the board.
Yeah, but again, if the big wigs ain't gonna listen to Hotep,
No,
Jesus,
yeah, right.
point.
No, and I'm with you. I'm with you on that. But I think the effort I have underfoot anyway is to change.
I think once y'all can get some people out and the right people up top that are willing to listen to people like me, then I'm all in. You know, until then, I'll hang out with the constituents. We could all talk.
Yeah.
Whatever. But other than that, I'm like, fuck the Libertarian Party. You know what I'm saying?
Largely, to be honest with you, I'm largely there too. I fuck the Libertarian Party. I am done with their bullshit. I am sick and tired of showing up, passing out bullshit, doing stuff for everybody, and then being shit on when it's time to own up to that somebody did some shit. I'm done. I'm done with their bullshit because I'm not like them. I don't want a party. I'm looking for freedom in my lifetime. I'm not trying to be powerful. And that's not what they want. These motherfuckers want to be the libertarian version of the Republican or the Democratic Party, and that's never gonna fucking work because they're bad at it.
So let me offer you a positive alternative, Marcus. So as a member of Hotep Nation, you get to be powerful, but it's a good kind of powerful. Because the argument I've always made is the opposite of power is powerlessness. So if you don't want to be powerless, then building with someone who is building a power structure that can actually defend itself against this shit is paramount. We have to kind of get rid of this notion that that because evil people have power over the whole world, that somehow that makes power evil. Right. The abuse of power and distorted and contorted power that is like bastardized, like it has been, is bad. But the opposite of power is powerlessness, and I have no interest in being powerless. I want to have the power that the people who I believe in, the people who I love, the people who I care about deserve to have, to be able to defend themselves and to be free. And that's where this kind of that's where I jumped into this whole thing. I don't even remember who it was who turned me on to you, but it was.
But that's the difference between us and the grifters, right? The grifters don't have no power, right? When this whole MAGA thing ends, guess who's still going to be there? Hotep Nation, because we didn't build a brand off of another man's brand. Right. So who's got power? Who's got power to tell the conservatives fuck you and the liberals fuck you?
Right.
They don't have that power. They are stuck. Like, oh, I can't say this and I can't say that. Like today, one of these grifters expressed his liking for Obama. And he said, I didn't even know there was Obama syndrome. I'm like, oh yeah, you've been grifting so long, you had no idea. You shouldn't say you like Obama, huh?
Right.
And he's like, he got backlash from it. He didn't know it, but I was like, oh yeah, you got a taste of it now. Yeah, you stepped off that plantation.
Yeah, there's there was Obama derangement syndrome, just like there are conservative snowflakes like a motherfucker, man. It's funny to watch. And I actually, one of the things Mark was talking about, I had this conversation with a friend of mine today about, I had sent him, because he sent me something. I got to send you this link. It's this black preacher, and he's just going off, like Hotep as a motherfucker, going off on all the stuff. It sounded very much like that little 2+ minute rant that you went on where you're like, this is Hotep fucking nation. You pounded the table and everything, and Unc drank his beet juice or whatever and just kind of shimmied to it. It sounded a lot like that. And so I was like, yeah, exactly. That's what I've been trying to tell you, dude. And so I sent him that clip of you, and he's like, oh, there's too much profanity in there. And I was like, man, y'all are a bunch of pussies. Like, this is not how. He's like, if you're gonna win, you need to clean some of that stuff up and everything. And I was like, no, like that's the opposite of what needs to happen, because this generation that's coming is a generation that needs to be spoken to, first of all, and second of all, we need to stop being so fucking bitch-made, pussified, because it's infuriating to watch. Like y'all been at this for like 50 years, and how much shit have y'all won? Not a fucking thing. Some elections, but all of your morals and values have gone. Now you're trying to tell me that John McCain and Mitt Romney are the answer. That's where you are. Is that you've gotten so bad that like somebody who's left of like JFK, who you're gonna try and make fun of his brother and everything, Ted Kennedy, somebody who's left of that is now your savior because he's not as bad as Obama. Like, this is where we are. Like, y'all are. Floyd Mayweather doesn't have enough L's to throw at you, for how bad y'all are losing.
Yeah.
What happened to Nicco?
Nicco said he got to check on grandma. So let's talk about the Constitution, right?
All right.
So I basically said fuck the Constitution. That's the point he was trying to make, right? Like when he's talking about that video where I said the Constitution should have one thing and it should just say, hey, leave us the fuck alone, right? And it came out of, you have to remember, prior to this, I had not been presented with the Federalist Papers. I didn't even know they existed, right? Or the Anti-Federalist Papers, let's say.
Right.
So I'm studying communism. Now keep in mind that prior to Trump and all this talk, I was playing with the idea of communism and socialism in my mind, right? But I'm playing with it logistically, right? Like, Chad, from being in the summit on Saturdays. Yeah, how do you make this? Yeah, how do you make this thing work, right? So years go by and I'm still toying. I'm gonna show you exactly how, right?
Well, because you were at like early Occupy, weren't you?
Yes, I was at at Occupy early. Yeah. So I'm thinking in my head, and I'm like, how do we get a PlayStation to everybody, right? This is the first thing that comes to my mind, right?
That's great.
Like, if you can't get somebody a PlayStation, then we're screwed, right? Like, there's no equality, right? So I'm like, and then I'm like,
that ain't even that big of a pull. That's like that's like $500, like or 300 at the end, yeah.
Right. So I'm thinking like, how do you get this PlayStation out to people? And then who's making these PlayStations? And it's like, all right, do the people making the PlayStations get a PlayStation first? And what if you're the creator of the PlayStation? It's like, you're still living like everybody else. And it's like, what if you've never worked anything? Are you still afforded the same PlayStation as everybody else? Right? So I'm playing with this thing in my mind, is just not making sense. right? So I'm not able to accept this idea of communism. I want to accept this idea of socialism because I see the brokenness in modern capitalism, right? And I'm trying to make it work, and it's just like error, error, error. So cool. So when you ask a socialist, they say that socialism is when the people own the means of production. So in my head, I'm like, all right, how does this ownership thing happen? Is there a new corporation, new organization? Like, and how much air of this new entity, right? Because it has to be some sort of thing. If you don't want to use corporation, the word, there is some sort of thing that you have to be a part of to own the means of production. Now, who makes the decisions for this thing? Because let's say you start with 1 million people. All 1 million people not only cannot make decisions, all 1 million people are not mentally equipped to make all the decisions. Sure. So I'm like, all right, so now we have to hire a committee or vote on a committee. So I'm like, oh, fuck, now we're back to democracy. And it's
the most fun is I had one of these. Oh, you still there? Okay.
So I'm like, yeah. Am I chopping up?
Yeah, it's chopping up a little bit. Yeah. No, because I won't get into all the other stuff because I've already talked about this before. But I had an anarcho-communist on my trip to Orlando with me, and that was a fun conversation where we talked about, like, basically if the business owner got any kind of grant money or anything like that. This was like literally what this person said. If you got any money from even if you've been paying taxes all along, if you got any money from the government to help subsidize your business, that it's totally within their rights to just take your shit. Oh, he's back. It's weird. He's like on a different device or something. I don't know what's going on. Yep. We got a 5 top.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Oh, there you are. All right. So the other one's gone. All right. So I'm thinking about this thing, and I'm like, it's just a corporation all over again, right? Because you have to have a board that makes decisions for the benefit of all people, right? So then I'm like, wait, hold on a second. If the people own the means of production and you're still going to need a committee, technically communism and socialism is centralization of power. Yep.
So I've taken the idea of communism and socialism and I said, this is just centralization of power. And the last thing you want to do is create centralization of power if you say the people in charge are not benevolent.
Right.
That's the last thing you would want.
Yeah, that's what I try to explain to people all the time. It's, Bastiat's The Law thing where he talks about, like, he says, people say that first they make all these rules for who can vote and who can't vote. It's right. Like, who's making the decisions on who gets to vote and who can't vote?
Right.
Why can't my 3-year-old vote? Right. Oh, you decided my 3-year-old can't vote? So you voted that my 3-year-old can't vote on whether or not he gets to vote?
Right.
Oh, okay. All right. So now, next step. So you're saying that man tends toward evil. And so we have to protect ourselves against that. So what we have to do is we have to find people who are not men, who are not human, angels who will rule over us, because apparently that's what you've decided is that man tends toward evil. Therefore, people who are not human must rule over us that but no. What we're going to do is we're just going to put men in charge of us. Yeah. And oh, by the way, it's probably when you concentrate power like that and add the money and everything that goes, because the people are like, oh, we need to take the money out of politics. Well, maybe if you took the power out of politics, the money would leave too. Yeah. Because the reason the money is there, because they're trying to control that power station.
Yeah.
They want the power station.
Yeah. Money is irrelevant. It's the power. All you have to do is read Animal Farm.
Right. So the campaign finance reform doesn't have a fucking thing to do with it. Yeah. The people who the money is being made by the people who are influencing the committees and where they put this casino, or where they do this, where they, how they structure this legislation.
So let me bring that to the
Yeah, go ahead.
So let me bring that back to the Constitution, right? So now I understand what socialism and communism is, right? So great, boom. Now I'm like, all right, let's go back to 1776. And I'm like, wait a second.
This is where you broke conservatives' brains too.
Yeah. And I'm like, wait a second. If the United States was 13 separate colonies and these group of men decided to create a conglomerate or a confederate or a group of nations under one nation, I'm like, hold up. This is globalism. This is communism.
Right.
The United States, and like when I first did it, like I'm by myself. I'm like, oh shit, United States is a communist nation. United States is like it's like an epiphany,
really?
like a light bulb went off my head. I'm like, holy shit. No, this is wild. This is wild about, you know. Yeah. So I'm like, holy shit, we're in a communist nation. So I type it in. United States is a communist nation, and evidence pops up. I'm like, I knew it. So I'm like, all right, time to tweet it now. Let's see what the people say. United States is a communist nation. It is not capitalist. How dare you? You don't know what communism is. I'm like, I struck a nerve. I'm on to something here.
Yeah.
Breaking brains.
You hit that McGraw
Hill nerve.
But
that's what that is. It's like United States at its inception was 13 separate colonies. At that point, it was perfect. That's as perfect as you're ever going to get, was those 13 separate colonies where South Carolina, you make your rules, Massachusetts, you make your rules. But as soon as you take this federal government and you put this big body that governs all people, you see, the thing is, if I say, look, I don't like the way shit going in South Carolina, I'm going to go to New York. If I don't like the way shit going in New York, I'm going to go to Alabama, right? You got that choice. When you got the federal government, it's like, damn, I got to lead a whole nation.
Right.
And then when you're dealing with globalism, it's like, where on the globe can I go?
You got to lead the planet.
You got to lead a planet. You got to go to Mars.
Nah, you just build your underwater world. They can't get you underwater. Man.
Yeah, you got to create your own underwater world.
Well, and if it wasn't perfected just yet, when the one time that enough of those colonies tried to secede, well, not the colonies, but enough of the states at that point tried to secede, what did we do? And with Abraham Lincoln's help and everything else, one nation under God, indivisible.
Indivisible. Don't you dare divide.
But with liberty and justice for all. How the fuck is there liberty for all if we're indivisible?
Yep.
How?
I'll tell you what.
Sway?
I'll tell you what, though. One way or another, this shit's coming. What we're talking about, same shit Adam's talking about. It's localization. Take shit down to as far down to the individual as we possibly can, and let each other govern each other. But I'm telling you what, fucking California's about to pop some shit off. Marcus Ruiz Evans is a friend of mine. He's the one who's involved with Yes California, Cal Exit. Them motherfuckers filed paperwork. They're getting the fuck out. And they've got a huge fucking following, especially right now in the age of Trump. Then Californians are like, bye.
So to show you how stupid conservatives are, if conservatives were smart, they would do the same thing that the Baptist churches do every time a casino's come into town or a blue law is going to be voted on, and they would combine with. So what happens is, because I live in the South, so this shit happens all the time. When there's a dry county or a dry parish, okay, you have this really, really awesome but bizarre team up of the Christian churches and the bars in the surrounding counties that both try to make it illegal for alcohol to exist in the parish or county that is dry, because the churches think it's bad and they don't want alcohol in their parish or county. But the bars in the surrounding counties agree that it would be terrible because they're getting the bootleggers business. So if the conservatives were smart, they would be completely on board with California getting the fuck out of the U.S., because then you wouldn't have California telling Alabama what to do.
Right.
But instead, you have all this other shit. And it's the same thing with, if the liberals, if the whole Sun Belt decides they want to leave the U.S., like, why the fuck do you care? And why are you going to call them racist? Like, they're leaving. Like, you're going to tell them, hey, fuck you, you're racist. Stay here with us.
Yeah. So let's get back to socialism, right? Like so we create the PlayStation, right? And now we have this factory. Now, who's making the PlayStation, right? Like, who's going to be actually manufacturing this damn thing, right? And then if there's no money because there's no capitalism, how does this guy get compensated? And so I said, all right, we'll give him a bigger house. And it's just like, oh, well, this thing's getting tricky already, right? Because I guess he has to get the better land too, which means there is no equality, right? We're back to square one where somebody's going to have and somebody's going to have not.
And everybody else gets the Ludlow massacre.
Right. And then it's like, all right, so people identify that there's this lack of equality that's inevitable. So then people say, you know what? Nobody's going to make the PlayStation, but you have to make the PlayStation. So what do? You force people to work. So I'm like, damn. So communism is basically going to lead back to slavery all over again. Right? And that's so I'd love for a socialist, communist, or anybody to show me logistically how a socialist nation is run. The best thing I've seen for a communist nation was China. I actually admire China. I admire China for the way they run things.
Their state capitalism sort of model that's
it's a mixed economy, right?
Yeah.
It's basically like it's basically like it's just capitalism, but if some shit happens we don't like, we're gonna change it, right? Yeah. So, for example, it's like, you have this great corporation. Oh, well, you know what? Let's grab this Chinese person and that Chinese person. Look, you're going to work here and you're going to do this and you're going to do that and you're going to do this. And we're going to put all our efforts to make TikTok great. And that's why TikTok is great, because the communists said, look, we're going to take the best minds around the country to make this thing great. And then after that, you guys can do whatever you want to do. But the first thing we're going to do is make this. And that's what makes China great, because they know how to mix the communism with the capitalism. So I admire their system, but I'd love for somebody to show me a communist way to do things without money, without the capitalism. I don't think it's possible.
It's not possible. And the thing is, people say we've never fucking seen a free market ever. It's never happened. It's never happened. And you're right though. And Spooner lays all this out. So does Rothbard. None of this is new, I suppose. But at least the founding fathers of this country understood that this shit's going to grow. It's why Jefferson suggested that we have a revolution about every fucking 10 years or so and start a new government. It is because no matter what you do, you're going to get to full-on tyranny. There is no such thing as a monarchy. These people that think that they're going to get to this small government that doesn't fucking do anything except protect you. Larkin Rose nailed this on top of the head. He said, so what you're saying, if you want this monarchy, is that for security, just in case bad people with guns are going to kidnap you, throw you in a cage, or kill you, we need to hire people with guns to kidnap people, throw them in cage, or kill them. What kind of fucking brains is that? It doesn't make a bit of fucking sense. There's no fucking, people don't get it. You either have a master and you put your fucking slave muzzle on, do what you're told, or you have freedom. Freedom is when motherfuckers aren't telling you how to live your goddamn life.
Yeah. I mean, you can't do shit in America, man.
No.
I just told you I can't even fucking start up a fund without the people.
You can't have somebody give you money.
I can't.
And you can't give them money. Like, what the fuck is this?
And then they call it a capitalist free market.
And then what they want is they want you to go to one of those people who has that stuff and get them to give you money so that then they own you.
Yep.
That's what it all is.
You start to say something?
Oh no! All I said was they plan this shit, but they're not like China. China thinks 100 years ahead. the USA is like, what's
6
yesterday?
months.
All right, let's try that on. Like
6 months
we
if we're lucky.
don't think past the
Mhm.
50-year mark, even if that. Like it just shows how unprepared a lot of people are, especially in the American culture. And it's just a matter of teaching them and presenting them the ideas for them to grow and expand upon wanting to grow and know more. Other than that, you just let the motherfuckers stay stupid.
So on that note, if I may, if we have a little bit of time, I want to ask a kind of a more existential question. So if we're here, and our soul, our like the thing that animates this flesh and bone that we're in, is meant to like transcend this. What's your, because this is something that like I remember, like I was like 7, 8 years old. I remember thinking I was the only real one in the fucking world and that I was living in a simulation. I felt like I was Truman Show. I was the only real person and that everybody else was a robot or some sort of test or something for me. And so kind of tapping back into that, like why are we here? What's the reason for inhabiting this plane and this flesh and bone? And what is your I guess kind of your outlook on how to optimize not only that time here, but what does that mean for beyond here? If that's not
what does that mean for
too much at
beyond
this late
here?
hour.
Well, first of all, I understand that before I continue this conversation, you have to understand that I believe in the law of reincarnation. So along with the law of reincarnation, I believe that we all reincarnate over and over again. Some people think that, I transcend this world and I go to a new world. No, bitch, you coming back here. Just because you think you better than us don't mean you going on to a new world. You coming back here again, my nigga. And the truth is, we are all souls of one larger oversoul. So until all souls in this realm learn the lesson, none of us graduate. We reincarnate back here again. What we are trying to do is unify the souls. That's why you have to have a life of selflessness. Now, every time you come back, you're going to be afforded more and more luxury. That's why when I was born into this world, I was born into luxury, because wherever the fuck I did in my past life, I must have did some good shit. I must have did some good shit to get to life. And then there's some people who are born into even more wealth than I am. Now, they may go backwards in their next lifetime because of the sins they've created. Now, they're not going to reincarnate as a dog or anything like that, but they might reincarnate as a slave in Saudi Arabia or some shit like that, or Libya, right? And those are the sins that they're going to have to, their soul's going to have to pay for from the previous lifetime. So we understand this is the belief system I live under. The purpose, first of all, let's understand the sole purpose of Hotep Jesus. The sole purpose, and I don't mean S-O-L-E, S-O-U-L, the sole purpose, my soul's purpose, is to grab a bunch of motherfuckers, throw them over my back, and bring them up. Not everybody, as many motherfuckers as I can put on my back. And I might be standing on somebody else's back as I do this. And they might be on somebody else's back as they do this. We're all helping each other rise to the mountaintop. Mountaintop, proverbial, means rising higher in your consciousness. For example, motherfuckers be like, how you do what you do? Nigga, my soul is operating on this plane. I'm not operating as a human being. You think, I don't think. I ponder and I contemplate, then I pontificate, but I understand the power of the soul. And I say, yo, soul, I need this. Bring this to me. And my soul says, no doubt, just make sure you show up. And as long as I show up, I get what I want. And showing up means getting out the fucking bed, sending the emails you're supposed to send, talking to people you're supposed to talk to, listening to your intuition. You got to show up. Am I chopping up?
No, you're good.
You're good.
No, it was a perfect time for you to not chop up.
Okay.
Perfect.
So, people wonder how I'm able to make the things I do happen. It's because I'm a mystic. let's not be confused. My father was a mystic. He was trained as a mystic. He trained me as a child to be a mystic. I was confirmed as a Catholic in a Catholic church, but I was taught mysticism. I was taught how to operate in the physical realm using what people would call magic. But it is natural law. It's nothing supernatural. This is all natural law. How does an ant communicate with another ant if they don't talk? How does a fucking bird know to fly down south? How are some animals pre-programmed with what to do to survive on this planet? What is that divine essence that animates us, that permeates through us all? There's an intelligence there. There's an intelligence you can tap into. People think they're intelligent. You're not fucking intelligent. You know what intelligence is? Intelligence is consciousness. Being conscious of yourself. Being conscious of yourself and knowing your flaws and your strengths and amplifying your strengths and modifying your flaws, trying to turn your flaws into strengths. See, flaws are just opportunities to become strengths. Consciousness makes you intelligent. Consciousness, being aware, saying, I'm being told this thing or this idea, this event. Is it true? That question mark is consciousness. Most people think intelligence is the period or the exclamation mark or the comma or the semicolon or the colon. Consciousness is the question mark. Intelligence is the question mark. That's how I know when to engage with somebody. If I say something and they respond with a period or an exclamation mark, I know not to interact with this person. But if a person comes with a question mark, I go, we have a mind that's moving here. I can interact with you. We can engage now. Chad's one of those people who is a question mark. You know, before I even go down this road, I got a few questions. Before I say no to the idea you have, I got a few questions. Not enough people have questions. You get inside of a room full of people and only the intelligent will have questions. The dumb will sit there and take what you say and just run out the room with it and go. I am a person of questions. Even when it comes to socialism and communism, I have not discarded them completely. I just say, I have a question. How does this work logistically? Somebody come show me because I can't do it. But I'm still able to put the question mark out there and I'm willing and able. If you figure it out, please put me on because I'd love to see it. Not because I'd love to see it because I want to prove you wrong. I'd love to see it because goddamn, you's one smart motherfucker. Yeah. You to make this shit work because I can't do it. My brain breaks when I try to do it. But again, coming back to soul and consciousness. Consciousness is being aware. People aren't even aware of themselves. Therefore, they can't ask the right questions. Hotep Jesus doesn't become Hotep Jesus without asking questions. For example, a lot of us want to be know-it-alls. Or we always want to be right all the time. I didn't know what the fuck communism was. I didn't know who Orwell was. I knew Orwellian. I knew what Orwellian meant. I knew people were throwing out this thing called Orwell, and I knew it meant Big Brother and all of that. I knew people threw out this word communism and the memes and all of that. But I said, no. I went to the timeline. I said, what should I study if I want to learn about communism? And they fed me books. See, it started with a question. And then I studied. And then I became bright on the subject. But it started with the question. See, most people would say, oh, communism is bad. That's all I need to know. I learned enough. Done and done. But you only know it at a meme level. You don't know it at a soul level. You ain't really studied this thing. I went and I did the studies on these topics. I went and did the studies on socialism and communism, and I did the histories. But I was humble enough to say, to my 100,000 followers, I don't know. And I told my kids today, there's two ways you create a man. One is admitting when you're wrong, and the other one is admitting when you don't know. I don't grow until I say I don't know. Chad said, yo, what's up with this Anarchy thing? I'm like, yeah, I ain't heard too many good things about it, but what you got, right? It started as a question. So he hands me some materials. He hands me Rothbard. and I get to reading Rothbard. I'm like, this motherfucker making some sense. But it begins with that question. Now, had I said, yo, Anarchy's stupid, leave me alone, I don't learn Rothbard. I don't get introduced. Like right now, I'm followed by the Mises Institute. None of these things happen without the question mark. And that's what we have a lot of. People just throw things out left and right. They say, I'm not dealing with it, right? But the point of the matter is that is consciousness, being aware of what you don't know. Like they say, you don't know what you don't know, right? So consciousness and intelligence starts from that question. What is it that I don't know that I don't know? Right. That's my thing. When it's something crosses my path and we start talking about online, I gotta know it before I use it. Orwell. I'm like, yo, I keep saying Orwell, but I'm like, I really don't even know who this guy is. I feel hypocritical. So I go and I read 1984, Animal Farm, Writings and Teachings, and all his, some of his other works. And I'm like, oh shit. Now I have an understanding of Orwell that the people who meme Orwell don't even understand.
Right.
For sure.
I'm like, yo, you're under the Orwell. You're under the Orwellian system,
Right.
because you lack consciousness and you don't even see it, but you're memeing Orwell. But you're falling for the same trap. But I went and I read the Animal Farm. I read the 1984, and I read the end of 1984, which is maybe the most important part of the book, is the after the story, where he starts breaking down the words and whatnot, and double speak and all of that.
Etymology of the words.
Yeah, the double plus good and all of that, right? And how these things came about in this story. And he's just like, oh shit, I didn't even think about that. So then I start coming with my own thought experiments, right? Like it spawns from each other. And so, for example, here's another example of people lacking consciousness. The other day I said, if you limit speech, you limit thought. And some girl responds, monks don't speak. All right. First of all, it's not true, right? Like they got to speak at some point, right? But let's just go with that fact, period, that monks don't speak. First of all, if monks didn't speak, that means they would gain no intelligence. See, what she was thinking was herself. She's thinking about only herself. She's not thinking about a community. I'm thinking about a community. You see, if you limit Chad's speech, I can't learn from Chad. It's not about me being locked in a room by myself saying, if I don't have freedom of speech, I have limited thought, although that is true, and we can get into that, but I won't. But if you limit Hotep Jesus' speech, how many other people lose out?
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's that group that works together, but this girl who didn't want to take a second to try to understand or even ask the question, remember we talk about the question, to dive further into, well, what do you mean by this? Like, that's all she had to say. Well, what do you mean by this? Or what about this? Or it was just, monks don't speak. But do you think I responded to her? Absolutely not. I don't have time to respond to idiots. I don't respond to plebs. I just don't. I can't play in the mud with pigs. I just can't do it. I'm sorry. I've risen above that level. There used to be a time when I would. I don't do that no more because I know my worth. But the fact of the matter is, you have to ask the question, but the speech is for each other, right? Mm-hmm. If Chad never tells me about Rothbard, I don't understand Anarchy. If Chad's speech is limited, I don't learn. We don't grow. We learn from each other. So the monks in the monastery, if they're always silent, when do they learn from each other?
No, like that's the whole reason I brought this up was because like it's me watching you with Shaka Atmos and me watching you with Young Pharaoh, and as a white Catholic going through this stuff and listening and saying, you know what, like I'm not so stupid that I'm afraid to hear that. I'm like a sponge.
Yeah.
I'm like, let me hear this. Let me go to the original sources and let me try to figure out, like, what did they put me onto something that I didn't know?
Yeah.
Because if you're not thinking in that term, that's why I brought up that CrossFit analogy. If you're not thinking in terms of like expanding your brain muscle, stretching it to its limits, breaking it so that it can heal back together, and then it's stronger than it was before, then you're not growing. You're not growing, and you're
So
not, and we're not growing as a community, because now when you have, you ever thought about like, oh, Michael Jordan's the best basketball player ever. Well, I don't know. Like, what if there's some guy in like, I don't know, China or Russia or Zimbabwe or something, that has never been discovered, who could have been way better. He just didn't have the outlet or the exposure, or didn't get exposed to the sport or whatever it is. So like, to the extent that, and that's why in this internet age where we have all of this like incredible interconnectedness, the neural net of the world is like, it's fucking on steroids right now. And God bless us, but we're fucking TikToking when we could be like reinventing the way we do everything. But I'll say this much, for those people out there who do post the question mark more often, there's hope. I have hope.
I mean, look at how I deal with liberals and Democrats. I anytime I speak to them, I always ask a question. Because I really want to learn. I want to understand their side. There's so much things that I just want to understand what the fuck they're thinking about. I want to understand how you tick, so we can find a middle ground. For example, when we talk about the alt-right, and people are like, "Oh my God, you actually spoke to those guys?" And I'm like, yeah, I kind of want to understand what's going on in their mind. They've got problems. I kind of want to see what it is. And then I got deep down inside the catacombs of the alt-right, and I realized, I was like, wait, these niggas, black people, they don't even got a problem with black people. They might say some racist shit about us.
We got the same enemies.
Right. They, like, when you get down deep into these conversations, they don't consider black people an enemy. They think like, we want you to be over there. Don't come near us. Yeah. And they might say some slick racist shit because they don't have any power. But the real enemy that they mad at ain't you. They not thinking about black people. And I wouldn't know that unless I went into the catacombs and dove deep and had the conversation with them, find out, well, who y'all got beef with? And I found I got beef with, like, oh, okay. Now I see. Well, let me go back to my people and see what's going on when we come back, But that's something, that we have to do. We just have to ask these questions to understand people. When you see that with the right and left, nobody's asking questions. It's all like statements, and refutations.
And it's all in a juxtaposition to a predisposed narrative that's like you. I don't know where the shit originates from, but like the origination is like, it seems like its genesis is right next to the genesis of the juxtaposition, because there's nothing else allowed. Like you have, we're against this. Well, I guess we're for it. Like the thing, like the Trump is like a perfect litmus test for the fact that this exists.
Yeah.
Trump says this is a good thing. Breathing oxygen is good. Oh my God, we should not breathe oxygen anymore. Trump said it, you know what I mean? And it's like, and then on the other hand, Trump could say breathing cyanide gas is good. And the conservatives would be like, what the fuck are you saying against cyanide gas? It's like, my God, dude.
Yeah.
It's like,
you know what it is though?
Yeah.
It's the maturity mindset opposed to the kids. And that's where the consciousness plays. It's the word understanding and overstanding, and where you stand with that knowledge.
For sure.
What happened to
Who's Nicco?
Did he freeze?
When you kids mind.
Oh, okay, I thought that was
you
me.
don't get to drop gems and not freeze up.
You know what? It's hilarious. My thing has been acting up, and the email that I'm getting is and Sharp Mogul Summit. It's reminding me, get your bread up. That's all it is. But when we go back to the point, it's that we were always told, oh, you got to be more mature. Okay, well, maturity doesn't mean that we have to change the fact of question. One thing that when I grew up you know, my older brother was sillier than me. He just had that natural silly composition to him. I was, you know, in sports, so I was more structured. I was down the nitty gritty. This is what technically maturity is when you're focused and you shut the hell up. No, that's not what it is. Maturity comes with, can you question it? How do you maintain yourself as an adult? You can still have a child's mindset. Steve Jobs wouldn't have been able to come up with a damn iPhone if he didn't have no childish personality in him. You have to have the inquisitive mindset of a kid to want to grow. But when we have kids nowadays that do have the inquisitive mindset and we get agitated because of it, because of all the outside networks, we're like, all right, can you shut up? Like, I'm trying to enjoy myself. But
what's your sun sign, Nicco?
Me, I'm a Gemini, sir.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Yeah, I know. Everybody hates me, but you know, no, everybody loves me. But that's the funny thing. It's
second half or first half?
I am very end. I'm on the cusp, so I'm June 20th. So I get a little Cancer in me, sir.
Oh, you're Gemini and Cancer mix?
Yes.
Oh, you're all fucked up.
Yeah, you already know about it.
You're very interesting. You're a very interesting individual. I'd love to see what you're like as a person. I'd have to spend like a week with you to figure you out.
I would like to actually, I would like to actually dissect your brain. That's what I'm about.
You don't come off like a Gemini.
No, I don't. No, my rising sign, if you allow me to look at it for a goddamn second, because I should know it off the top of my goddamn head.
It's probably that cusp of being mixed with the Cancer.
Gemini, Sun, Moon, Taurus, Mercury, and Cancer. And then
Mercury's in Cancer. Okay.
Yeah.
And what's your moon? You said your moon is what?
My moon is a Taurus. I'm stubborn as fuck, but I also have that Haitian pride in me, so you know that helps out as well.
All right.
Yeah. So the way Nicco got here is like,
yeah, I don't know how the fuck I got here.
He hit me up. He hit me up in the old Telegram Hotep chat, and he's like, "Hey man," because we did an episode and I posted it there. And he was like, "Hey, man, I dug the chat. I really want to talk to you about this." Because Marcus said something about voodoo at the end. Or no, it was something else. And I talked to you. You asked me to talk on the phone. Because that was when Drew had said, "Hey, y'all need to, it's really good if we can connect with each other." I had a really long phone conversation with somebody.
Drew. Had it with Drew.
It was you and Drew. It was you and Drew, and then it was me and you. Yeah, and so then we started talking. And then that's when I said, like, yeah, Marcus and I, after the podcast, we had a much better conversation. Well, anyway, we had a really good conversation, equally as good as the podcast, for like an hour about voodoo. And Nico's like, "I really want to talk to him about voodoo." So then we did an episode. We're like, "Hey, Nicco, come on and do an episode about voodoo with us." And so Nicco came on, and ever since then, it's just been like, it's I don't know, Nicco's a different cat. Like his.
I would like to appreciate that. Hotep Jesus said he wants to dissect my brain. So
yeah.
For sure. I'd love to feel your personality out. But sometimes what happens is we can transcend the negative qualities of our signs.
For sure.
Nicco's all good, like through and through.
Funny thing. It's like we're all stuck in the concept of when it has a negative connotation, it's stuck with it. So say the word consequences. I was talking to my boy about it earlier. I was like, yeah, you got consequence of actions, but everybody thinks like, oh, you're going to have to deal with the consequences. No, consequence just means effects, like whatever's happening afterward.
It literally means it in sequence, like with sequence. That's all it is. It's like consequence. Anyway, it's
nobody wants to take that time to understand the history of how consequence came into the effect of the word being consequence. We just see it as, oh, we're just going to leave it as this word. Or voodoo. Let's take it to that. You have people who can communicate with their gods single-handedly opposed to giving it to a preacher, and then we are able to do shit with it, but we're evil. No. It's just the negative connotation because it's been given black magic, or it's been given the fact that, oh, well, black people have, they were the first black people to free themselves, but if you take into effect everything that they tried to do, they got flack for being negative. So you have to break down what truly is negative, what truly is positive, and then if you really think about it, what the fuck is polarity? Polarity is just is. So people have to really understand what is and what is.
I know that this is getting kind of long, and we're probably going to need to let Brian go here pretty soon. But one of the things that my goal with Aquarian Anarchy in the beginning was to do is to get its shit, like you were talking about earlier, Brian, and the stuff Nicco and I have talked about, and that Chad's added to as well. You know, you can't. I commented something on something you said, Brian, earlier this week with an Aristotle quote that you can't feed your. I'm going to fuck the quote up, but it's you can't feed your mind without feeding your heart. And so when I started Aquarian Anarchy, I wanted to include spiritual, because it's been a huge part of my life. I've only been involved in politics or anti-politics for like 10 years, and I'm 45 years old. I've been involved with spirituality since I was like 18, you know? So, you know, spirit and magic and God has always been a huge part of who I am and what I do. And, you know, for me, the questions you were talking about reminded me of Socrates and the fact that, you know, the Socratic method is just keep asking questions and what have you, it was what his philosophy involved. But what you were getting at is where we need to be as a society. We need to ask the questions. We need to find that unity. We need to bring things together. You know, Aleister Crowley wrote a book called The Book of the Law, and in it, it said one of the things that one of the spirits, Nuit, the continuous one of heaven, says is that we were divided for love's sake, for the chance of union. And what you started off when you were talking about stuff with was that concept of we are divided and we're seeking for unity. And what I find beautiful in what you do and what we've been bringing to the table as a show or podcast, whatever the hell we are, is that focus on bringing people together to find solutions so that we can feed each other's hearts and help each other off the battlefield. Because we've been placed on the battlefield by the state, by corporations, by all of this shit. And it's time to start coming together. And what Chad was talking about earlier, where we need different warriors out there doing what we do. You know, whether, you know, maybe you're a magician and you do this or that, or maybe you're the cleric and you're healing people, or whatever it is. I'm really happy to see the building of the Black community that you're doing, the building of community that you're doing, because we're going to need that, because times are not getting better. You know, looking at this year and looking at the bullshit that we've been facing, all the nonsense aside, we need each other more now than ever before. And I really am glad that you could join us here and that you could help add to our story.
Nah, I appreciate that. Appreciate that, man. That's love. That's what I'm here for. Yeah, we have to bring people together, you know. And like, I got criticized before, you know. Sometimes you got like super conscious people. They call themselves conscious, but in the Black conscious community, they said, "Oh my God, you have Christians in your organization," and I'm like, "What do you want to like burn them at the stake because they're a witch?" Like, is this how we're choosing who we associate with, by what religion they follow, what race they are? This is how we're choosing our people, because people with high level of consciousness don't choose people like that. People with high level of consciousness are choosing people very much on an individual basis, based upon character, you know, based upon skills, based upon strengths, based upon weaknesses, based upon where this person wants to go. You have some people who have contributed to Hotep Nation for a temporary amount of time, and then they go on and they move on. You know, for a while, Alex Cortez, Ajax, he was a Hotep. He had Hotep in his bio. Dylan Madden, he was a young Hotep. He had a Hotep in his bio. These white men have been Hoteps for years, and you know, it served them for a period of time, and then, you know, they've discarded it, and it's fine. Like, there's no love lost. I don't give a shit. You know, you served the nation for however much time you did, but you put your time in, you got out of it what you needed to do, just like you would do in the army, right? You might serve for 10 years in the army and then you put it down, right? But you'll always be a vet of Hotep Nation. You will always,
right.
you will always have that residue on you. You know, I'll always be able to say, remember that time when you were a Hotep and it was in your bio? I'll always be able to say that, you know, but, you know, that's what it's about. You know, I'm not choosing people, you know, and somebody was like, well, how do I become a Hotep? I'm like, I can't make that decision for you. Right? Like, you got to say, I want to be Hotep. Right? Like, the Patreon's right there.
When the website comes back up, watch that video and answer those questions. You might be a Hotep.
Right. Like,
it's like the Jeff Foxworthy thing. If you believe in building your family and, you know, building wealth and, like, you know, understanding nature and, like, you know, relating to nature and not trying to defy nature or anything like that, then you might be a Hotep.
Yeah.
Like, you want prosperity, you're a Hotep. Fuck it off.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, like, you want to win? All right, good. You're Hotep, motherfucker. Just not at the expense of others, right?
Well, and Marcus and I have talked about this with respect to, like, libertarianism and, like, or anarchism or voluntarism or however you want to describe it. There's all these different words that people use, but it's, you know, it's a train and it's going all the way to full on anarchy. Well, you might get off at, you know, minarchy or, you know, a constitutional republic somewhere along, you know, like something other than where we are right now, because we ain't there and we got a long fucking way to go. And I've equated it a lot of times to, like, sometimes people are so busy fighting over whether we're going to, like, crab walk over the finish line, do backflips over the finish line, sprint across the finish line, or walk, or just keep our regular jogging pace. It doesn't fucking matter, because by the time we get to where we can see the finish line, none of us are going to give a shit at that point, because we're going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, that's when we run into the open field through the crevice that we've fought our way through. And it's like, boom, I'm going over here. Cool, I'm going over there. You know, and it's just, we just go and we build and we do whatever we're going to do. But what's really important is for us to, and I struggle with this a lot, is for us to remember who we were before we got here and try to speak to that person. Because often I find myself being like, why the fuck don't you get it yet? God damn it. And I got one particular friend. Nicco and Marcus and I were talking about this earlier. I got one who's, it's the same one that I was telling you about, that was saying, like, oh, he needs to, those F-bombs and all this stuff and everything. I'm like, man, you don't understand. Like, we got another generation coming up.
I wouldn't even waste my time on him.
Yeah, well, I know, but the thing is,
like that, I let go.
I know, but he's like there.
I throw him in the gulag. I throw him in the gulag.
But see, that's what I'm saying. So, like, I'm thinking, like, I'm not gentle and compassionate enough, because I'm not, like, looking at myself in 2010.
I wouldn't even waste my time on him.
All right.
I wouldn't even. Honestly, I wouldn't, like, oh, are you worried about this dude cursing? All right, bye, because you're not getting it. You're not getting it.
Right.
Like, there's nothing we can do to help you, because you're too pretentious to even get past this rough exterior or whatever it is. Because, oh my God, it's a curse word.
Well,
wear panties too, motherfucker.
That's right. I told him, I was like, dude, it's a fucking war we're in right now. We are at war, and you're worried about words.
Exactly.
That's a literal quote from our conversation. I said, we're at war and you're worried about words.
We're literally at war. We're literally at war for our lives. Literally. Yes. Yeah. And absolutely. You're worried about the general cursing.
Right. And I don't even fucking care about cursing, to be perfectly honest. Like, I think it's just words.
Any words that come out of the mouth and people take it too close to heart. Pay attention. Sticks and stones may break bones. People are so dumb. It's like they allow words to carry so much power, but there's power in words. Now, how you line those words up, that's
key.
That's
it's
key.
How you,
But if I'm dropping the F-bomb, the C-bomb, all that, there's studies behind why cursing can help alleviate stress. It can help people who are smart just curse. It's just a part of the words. But we, like I said, are an emotional time. So, if somebody, Chad, you white mother, like, are you going to take an offense to that? Or are you just not going to care?
I'd be like, that's right. I celebrate every Mother's Day and Father's Day.
I saw a question on the timeline of the day. It said, if you were president, what would be the first thing you would do? And my response was, abolish the federal government, right? And I already knew what type of responses I was going to get. But this one dude, he responds and he says, well, what about the military? And I said, I'll run that. Right? Like y'all asking these dumb, easy questions, right? And another person, who I didn't respond to, they said, oh, well, that's just going to leave us susceptible to run by another enemy. I said, abolish the federal government. Nowhere did I say let our military go, right?
Yeah,
like people just assume that because you dropped the military, no, maybe I'm commander-in-chief, bitch. That's what the president is, commander-in-chief. So guess what? Now the only power I have is based upon the military, and that is the only thing federal about this nation is the military. And then now the only discussion becomes is, are we voting on which war we go to? Why are we going to war, right? So now people are voting on just military action. That would be the only thing now, of course, there's going to be corruption. You got to have motherfuckers kill them, of course. But we just knocked a whole lot of problems. We knocked away 90% of the problems because a lot of people going to war based upon the power that they have in Congress and so on. So
and the money that comes from war.
Military contracts.
Yeah, and military contracts.
There's all kind of shit like that where they have like, so what's crazy is what they'll do is, first of all, they'll sell the project on how cheap, like there'll be like this tank. It's like, oh no, this tank shoots these missiles, and these missiles, they cost like 50 cents a piece. They only kill the enemy, and they like, we can pinpoint them to like the A key on your keyboard. That's where it'll only blow up what's on the A key on your keyboard, and there will be no collateral damage. And it costs 50 cents. And you pass the bill. Oh, we missed a few zeros. It costs $400 million per missile, and also it blows up the entire city, and it kills everyone inside the city. Mm-hmm. And oh, by the way, in addition to that, we have spread the budget out over every congressional district in the country. So now, in order for us to get rid of this thing that is now an albatross, you're going to have to get all these congressional districts to agree to it. And oh, by the way, they have the funding coming in from this big military contract. So why would they vote to get rid of that money?
Right.
Why stop my bank? Why stop my pockets?
Right. What happened to Marcus? I didn't read it. I didn't see it.
He has to use the laboratory.
Oh, okay.
I 100% agree behind that, Chad. And I've expounded upon this much earlier. The fact that we, as the American people, continue to feed the problems that we complain about. Mm-hmm. And it's day-to-day evident. Every time you pay for that Netflix bill, every time you decide to go to a movie, every time you decide to buy from McDonald's, God damn it, you might as well be pressing that red button for war because you just feeding the motherfuckers who just been robbing you just to feed them again. Why? Because you don't want to look up your damn history. You don't want to listen to damn Hotep. You don't want to go and you don't want to swallow your pride. People don't want to swallow their pride. Nobody wants to be wrong in this world. Everybody wants to be right. I sit down and try and call myself a little genius every day. That don't fucking mean that I'm going to be right every day.
yeah, real talk.
So you got to swallow your pride. And that's where you said when you become a man is when you swallow your pride or you accept that there's a flaw. Like people have to learn how to swallow pride. And it hasn't been taught properly. Being a man hasn't been taught properly. Being woman, oh yeah, that's everywhere. Because you gotta think, single mamas ran this motherfucking country for a hot minute. Yeah. So being a man and understanding how to control situations hasn't been prevalent because there haven't been too many. And then the ones that have been grown or groomed don't know how to go. Or if you've been here, you just had the money to not worry about any of the shit. Mm-hmm. So you have to, people don't take in consideration there's a lot more on this table than what's on your plate. There's a lot more. but it's only being cognitively aware and understanding the whole entire situation, not under, then you can get a better viewpoint of what Picasso's been trying to paint for you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm done.
That's good shit, Nicco. Yes. It's yeah.
He a young Thundercat Hotep.
I know. I love it. I love it.
Nicco, I'm gonna have to bring you one to the win. You got a little bit of potential over there.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Nicco's been on. How many Saturdays you been on?
I've been on a few, but the thing is, and
half a dozen or so. Like
less than that. I think I seen Nicco 3 times.
Yeah, no, I've been there. It's just the fact that I've been on my studies, this Hotep study. I'm not saying that you guys are Hotep. It's just that I've been on some Negro spirituals, if you will. I've been on that, and then I'm slowly trying to. First step in being
Hotep is fuck Black history.
Oh, right, because it's all history. My bad.
No, fuck all history.
Okay.
Fuck all history. What skill do you have?
I have the gift of gab.
What skill do you have? That's what you have to figure out. Then everything else is a hobby.
Okay.
For example, my teacher taught me. He said, my spiritual teacher, my mystical teacher said, mysticism is for old folks. It's not for young folks. Because what happens with young folks, they get caught up trying to learn how to use the soul and all this shit. They forget to live their life.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a lot of things you got to understand about the physical world today, currently. Whereas, for example, when I study history now versus back in the day, there's a completely different understanding because I understand today. So when I read history now, I'm like, oh, that's like this, and this. Whereas when I read the books back then, you don't know what the fuck you reading because you still growing up. You haven't matured.
You have a more material understanding.
Yeah. So what I always tell the young Black kids, I say, I know y'all want to understand y'all Black history and all of that, but if that's your primary focus, I'm gonna tell you to stop. That needs to be your secondary focus, is your African studies. And there's a lot of Hoteps that'll disagree with me on this, but none of them have my skill set. So that'll tell you everything you need to know about that. You need to focus on your skill set and what business you're generating. Where are your revenues of income? Because you're no good to us unless you have a skill set and some revenues of income to start investing in ideas. Anybody can teach you fucking history. Anybody can learn you some history. You got your whole life to learn history. It's not that much to learn, to be honest with you. I mean, there's vastness. Obviously, you're not going to learn everything about history. Right. But the overarching premise of Black history, going back to antiquity to now, is a very simple idea. You only need to read one book, and that's Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. It's really the only book I suggest Black people read, and read it as a hobby. What you need to be reading is, currently today, shut the fuck up and code, or learn digital marketing, or learn sales. Like, pick up a real skill and study that shit as your primary study. Then when you're done with your primary study, your trade, then you go study your Black history, secondary. This is a big mistake young Hoteps make. I made it too. That's why I won't allow young people to make that mistake. Do not study that Black shit first. That shit need to be second. I got a lot of mentors who they looking at themselves now like, yo, I done missed out on the world is different. I done missed out on a whole new world because I've been studying ancient Africa. But they couldn't tell you shit about what's going on right now. And they come to me for that. My teachers, I go to my teachers to learn about the past. They come to me to learn about the present.
So master my today is for the tomorrow.
Yeah, master today for tomorrow. History, you got all your life to learn that bullshit. Because learning history ain't going to change your life much. All you're going to do is impress people with knowledge, and that shit ain't going to get you nowhere,
well,
really.
I wouldn't necessarily say history, but it's more so of the spiritual. So, like, my cousin kind of put me on he's working under Roots, the spirituality of Roots as a whole. That shit's a waste of time, bro. Okay, I got you. No, I mean,
the spirituality is finding a connection with your intuition. You have to find a connection with intuition, and all of that is practice. All you have to do is rely on it. For example, I'm not going to check my phone to see what time it is. I'm going to ask my intuition what time it is, and my intuition is going to respond. It's going to tell me what time it is. Then I'm going to check the phone and see, I was off 3 minutes. Intuition's getting better. I was off an hour. When I wake up in the morning, I ask myself, what's in my Twitter feed? Who's mentioning me when I open this app up? And I open it and I see, oh, I was close. It was this subject or that subject, or what are they responding to, right? Learn to tap into your intuition through practice. But there's an old Latin phrase they teach us in mysticism that says, ora et labora, work and pray.
Right. Work and pray, work as you pray.
See, when you work, it opens the intuition up. It opens the soul up. It opens all of that up, and you'll get these downloads. It's
like
when you're in a, huh?
It's like reading. When you're reading and you're going through it, all these ideas come to you and like, damn, like, why didn't I think of it? I feel you on that. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
yeah. But you're young. You need to be figuring out where your cash flow is coming from. Like you said, your Wi-Fi is fucked up. Yeah, that's the shit. Fuck that spiritual shit. The spiritual shit ain't gonna pay no fucking bills. I'm telling you right now. The spirit gonna tell you, listen to fucking Hotep Jesus and get your money right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and
that's what you need to focus on.
And this is true too. Like I said, I've been studying spirituality for all of my fucking life. And Gurdjieff talked about this shit too. There was a guy, turn of the century, 1900s, big spiritual teacher in Europe. And when somebody'd come to him and they'd say, teach me the truth, teach me, spirituality, whatever, he'd say, great, go build a shed. And he'd literally have them go out and build a shed.
It's the Mr. Miyagi trick of stand the floor.
That's where spirituality is found.
Yeah.
Continue.
And what they would do is once they built their shed or they built whatever, he'd say, okay, now build this shit inside of it. And what he did was he helped them build their own temple. This became where they would do their spirituality once they got it all built physically.
And the thing is, what he was also doing was throwing away, because some people are going to go, I'm not building no shed. You won't teach me. You're being selfish. But what he doesn't understand is, matter of fact, you want to be spiritual? Make your bed. Clean up your room.
Jordan Peterson types.
Is that what he said?
Yeah. That was one of his 12 rules or whatever, was clean up your room.
Well, he doesn't clean up his, so I don't know why he even.
Yeah, I know. Well, that was the funniest thing, is that somebody showed, like,
hypocrites can speak the truth sometimes.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. My desk is messy as hell, and I'm saying this. But the other day I was at my mother's house, and my shorty said to me, she said, "Did you make the bed? Who made that bed?" And I said, "I made the bed." She's like, "I've never seen you make a bed like that before," and it's because I wanted to find my inner spirituality in that moment. Because spirituality is found in humbleness. Can you humble yourself to do these menial tasks, these things that you think you're above? You're not above any of these tasks. Jesus was a carpenter. You're not above any of these tasks. So when you get out the bed in the morning, I don't make my bed. I'll tell you right now, I don't know, I might make my fucking bed. But if I find myself out of sync with my spirit, I find it in doing things like, yo, it's time to clean up my desk. And I'll retune with my spirit. It's time to, let me make the bed today. And it'll retune the spirit. Finding the spirit is humbling yourself. And then that's when the spirit talks to you in those moments. But you see, the spirit don't talk to you when you think you got everything. It's like, oh, you got this, motherfucker. You don't need me. You big dog. You big dog. You don't need to make your bed. You big dog. You got this. But when you say, yo, I don't got this, let me humble myself and just, do this little menial task, the spirit goes, so you're not complete. Check this out. Boom, 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 boom. It's gonna start hitting you, giving you all the ammo. So you can't study spirituality. You practice it. And the only time you can practice spirituality is in times of hardship.
Oh man.
And it's easy to fucking on the beach when the sun is out and the moon's just right and the girls are talking to you. And your pockets are full of money. That's easy. Anybody can fucking be spiritual when you wake up in the morning, you meditate and shit's perfect. What about when you're in the household and your spouse is yelling at you, or your mom is yelling at you, or your dad's or your boss? Can you be spiritual in that moment? How fast do you resync your mind and go, wait, hold up, things are out of tune here. and retune, that is spirituality. Spirituality is a practice, it's not a study. Now you can sit down and study all the little symbols and, you know, I should do this and I should do that and and I'm not saying none of that stuff doesn't work. I ain't saying that. But that stuff is after you've mastered the humbleness. The material side of things. It's just, it accentuates. Those things are accessories. They accentuate your power. But the power is really in just coming back to zero.
For sure.
No, it's coming back to zero.
Okay. Right.
Being nothing.
Grounding yourself. Yeah.
Grounding yourself to and see, zero is the cipher in supreme mathematics. It's a cipher, but it's the whole. That's the soul, but the soul is zero. That's why it goes around like this. It's a cycle. So be zero, be nothing. I am nothing. And then the spirit.
Oh, dude, you're speaking my language, man. This is perfect. Dude, I'm telling you, I got all kinds of shit. Because it reminds me a couple things. First of all, in voodoo, the most powerful spirit, if you're talking regular voodoo, is Legba. He's an old man. He's infirmed. He rocks with a cane. Most powerful spirit in the entire system. Number two, in Santeria, which is like the sister religion to voodoo, the most powerful spirit is a child. It's a Legua, which is the same thing as Legba. Because, yeah, you know, all that, you know, finding all of that stuff. But when talking about getting back to zero in Kabbalah, the Jewish mystical system, you go through this system, right? You're trying to get up to God and doing all this craziness.
Tree of life, the Sephirah.
Right, exactly. So you're moving all the way up, right? And the first Sephirah is called Kether. It means crown. When you get up to the crown, you think you got it all made. That's where God's at, right? Wrong. There are 3 levels above that. Ein Sof, and Ein Sofar, which means nothing, limitless nothing, and nothing but limitless light. And those 3 things, so nothing, zero, nothing is greater than God.
That's all facts. All facts.
It's like an emptiness that implies receptivity.
Yeah.
Well, can you fill a full glass?
Right, no.
You can't fill a full glass. It's full already. It's going to spill over and make a mess. But if you empty this glass, I can now refill it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So when you wake up in the morning, you have to empty your glass.
Mm-hmm.
And then now the spirit can fill it. You have to be nothing first before you become something.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's why every spiritual path, it doesn't matter what it is. In Christianity, you get baptized, it's a destruction. You die and are reborn. You talk about Masonic initiations, you die and you're reborn. You talk about the Egyptians, you die and you're reborn. Jesus, you die and you're reborn. Everything is fucking destruction that leads to creation. You know, in the Tarot, they talk about there are 3, the like central figure in Tarot and in the Kabbalah is the sun, is Tiferet, which means beauty. Well, there are 3 paths to that. One of those is temperance. That's your only break. Temperance is like trying to fucking throw some water in and catch it on fire. It's hard, but you can get her done. The other 2 are the devil, Ayin, and death. And the devil and death will be your pathway up to heaven. Why? Because the devil teaches you that you're your own enemy, that you have put the restrictions upon yourself. And death is that final thing that you have to get past in order to find whatever it is that you're going to find. So again, reducing you back to zero. Again, bringing you to nothing. So
that's what Mr. Miyagi does. That's why that was a great analogy. Like when you come to Mr. Miyagi to teach, you like, yo, go paint that fence.
Right.
Right.
Go wax my car.
It's
Because
the humbling experience that you have to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And
it wears you out too.
But you know what? I'll say this and then I'll shut up probably because I go on tangents. But it was my first psychedelic experience that was it was my second one. That was the most humbling. what the powers that be, they don't want you to have a different perception on life and how you perceive life. You know, they want that singularity. That's why you go through school. You got that structure on you, and then you go through your 9 to 5. They make it very simplistic for you. They want you to come home, enjoy your popcorn, sip on your wine when, you know, murder mystery is on. But they don't want you thinking for yourself. They think for you. Alexander the Great, I don't remember what the philosopher he was talking to, but he was like, I want them all of my people to be like you. And the philosopher was like, no, you don't, because then you wouldn't be able to control. So when I was on the psychedelic experience, it was a humbling effect where it takes away your ego. Everybody's got the fattest fucking ego in the room. You can't tell them nothing. But when it's stripped from you and you're left with your emotions and that's it, that's a different story. That's a different vibe, because then therefore you can be recreated because of you're able to view things in a completely different light that you were never able to see before. I was able to come up with a new perception of questioning things, and y'all gonna call me bad or not, but after psychedelics, I was able to view my sister, my baby sister, 6 years old, in a different light because of she was a child running around filled with her imagination. So then that left me with, what do children do? They do who, what, when, where, why, how, and when. Like, that's just all they do, and they're able to configure things out of nothing. And that's what we're supposed to be able to do, is configure things out of nothing. But when you don't have that questioning mindset, when you don't have anything to push you to want to know it, because your brain is automatically questioning absolutely everything you do. From which shoe should I put on, from how should I put this sock on? It questions everything. That's its job. That's its consciousness. So when people lack that, or when I lacked that under the LSD element, I was able to question so much more. I was able to understand that I am one with everything, and then everything is me. And that's later down the line. But when I was humbled to that experience, it was able to present to me that there is always going to be, and forever and infinitely, more things than me. That's what people don't get. That's what I don't get sometimes. You know, everybody's got to come back to that. There's more than just me. Mm-hmm. And when I was in that little positioning and then I grew out of it, I was able to connect with or understand things a little bit better, because I was in a humbled position of not saying, oh yeah, I'm better than this thought, or there's no need for me to waste my time with it. Because you can learn from everything. Even when you think it's stupid, you just got to dissect it to who, what, when, where, how, and why. You feel me? Because
learning requires humbleness. You can learn from a bum, you know. Sometimes I'll be someplace and some man is speaking and will try to talk over him, like, shh, let him speak. Let him speak. I want to hear what he's got to say. No matter who this person is, I'm just like, shh, let this person speak. I love doing shit like that because, for example, when I go to like some of my networking events before COVID, I'll be talking to somebody for hours. And at the end, they be like, wait, what's your name? Yeah, you sat here and talked my ear off for a whole hour. I know everything about you. You don't know shit about me. But you know what? All I did was sit here and pick your brain. Pick your brain for an hour, and you got nothing of value from me, right? And that's what people do. They talk too much. People talk too much, and they don't listen enough. And that requires humility. The thing is, in conversation, people always think about the I, you know, I, me. And then, even if you watch people, right? Like sometimes I'll sit back and I'll see a room of people talking, right? And you can always tell who's going to speak next because they're not listening. They're thinking about what they want to say and they want to just hop in the conversation next. And I just sit there and I watch them all, like, not pay attention to what anybody's saying. It's just a group of people taking turns talking about themselves. And like, you guys aren't having a productive conversation. And then I'll come in and I'll drop like this little bomb and I'll just ask one question and everybody's like, you know, I never thought about that. And then now the complexion of the conversation completely changes. And I go back to being quiet and I watch them talk amongst themselves. And I learn again, right? Now when we leave, I know everything about everybody in the room. They don't know shit about me.
Dude, you just described my wife to a T. Man, this chick, she is the smartest person I have ever met in my whole life. My wife is amazing. I don't know how the hell I managed to get her because she's beautiful too. But my wife, swear to God, we'll be just rattling on, talking about philosophy, talking about politics, all kinds of bullshit. And we'll be talking, and we'll be like, getting intense. She'll come in, won't have said a goddamn thing for an hour, but when she does, it just boom, and like your brain just goes boom and explodes.
Yeah.
And I think that's a sign of really being like with that, what Dow is
conscious.
Like, yeah, she's got it. I wish I had it. I don't. I talk too damn much. You're right.
it just requires, silence. It requires saying, fuck me. I am not important. A lot of people come to me and they say, yo, you're so easy to talk to. Yeah, because I don't talk about my stuff. That's really the only difference. You're used to talking about people where you'll tell a story and it's like, oh, I got to tell my story now, right? It's like, no, fuck your story. Like, let this person continue talking. They've got more to say. And that's what I do. I just let people talk. The only time I talk is when I get on these podcasts.
That's good.
Any other time, I'm just fucking listening.
Yeah, no, that's my advice for everybody who decides to want to watch this podcast and get all the way up to this point is shut the hell up. God damn it.
And code.
Shut up and code. Shut up and do something. Shut up and do something to the point where you felt good because you did something for somebody. That's all I need, because if you think about it, this human race thing could be a lot farther than what it is, but we're still worrying about because I'm a bronze-looking person. Shut up. Shut up. Yeah. Just take a second and try and be close to God. That's all that we asking for.
If you're gonna speak, speak with questions.
For sure. I think that's a good place to end this, guys. If you're going to speak with questions. That's really good. I want to say, Brian, thank you for joining us. This has been my favorite yet of the podcasts we've done. And, I don't know if I'm a Hotep or not, but I'll tell you what, I enjoy Hoteps. And I don't think I can escape them, being that these two dudes right here are my co-hosts. So
you only a step away.
Right. Well,
Hotep adjacent, very much.
Says God shows me how. So, but this has been fun, and I want to thank everybody for being here. Please like, share. Again, the links to Hotep Jesus' stuff will be linked down below, and I really strongly suggest that if, for instance, if you're watching this, consider yourself an anarchist or a voluntarist or something like that. You need to open your mind up a little bit more and check out the Hoteps, because if they ain't us, which I think they are us, but if they ain't us, they're a really good ally to have. So go check them out. And thanks again. Stay free, my friends.